Like this second group now it appears to be a very interesting group there. Two from Lotto, Izagiri, Jack Haig. It's certainly Kenny Ellison's joined up in there, so it's not settled yet.
No, and Sepp Kuss has really found his mojo. He's part of this driving group. He's been putting out a lot of fires, and has found himself up towards the fore. Just looking, that is Hessink that we're just looking at the moment, making his way up. I thought it was Kuss and Oman, if that's the right group I'm looking at. I think this might be the red jersey group a little bit further back down the road that we are detailing at the moment. Yes, it is. There it is. Apologies for that. So yeah, we have a group up front being pursued at a distance of 37 seconds as it goes by, well, it's numbered as 23 riders. We had a heads-up shot a little bit earlier on, so it may well be that they had a few of their heroes streamed from us. But picking a winner today, Adam, is a very, very tough thing.
It is indeed. I mean, trying to pick a winner out of this quality field, the riders out in front have obviously put a big effort to be in there, but I think when it's so close like this, 121 still, back to the red jersey group, they've still got a lot of climbing to go, haven't they? So, you know, the way that Primus has been climbing, the likes of Bernal have been climbing, I think on that last climb they're really going to push on, and, you know, I'm sure if Primus really tries to get, well, if he gets a sniff of that finish, I'm sure he'll try and take that opportunity, not just for time gaps, but for the bonus seconds as well.
Apparently this tower, Adam, was inspired by Italy. We've seen Portuguese influence with some of the ceramic domes. What do you know about Italian towers, Adam?
That they're very, very tall.
Yeah.
There you go.
That was more boxy, really, though, wasn't it? I mean,
yeah.
I'd have gone with boxy if I were you, but anyway.
Yeah.
It's a Gothic military tower, apparently, located on the region's most spectacular hills. Apparently you can fire an arrow out of that there, and it goes for a few kilometres, because basically it just goes in the valley. Don't do it, kids. And we're looking at the GP Marcel Kint. Don't forget, this is going on at the moment. Not going to give too much away, but it's all part of your enormous programme of cycling that is at your disposal if you head off to the GCN app. GCN Plus is cycling as you've never seen it before. You get everything you could possibly want. It's there's more cycling, Adam. You really had to hunt it down in days of old. Now you've got as much as you want whenever you want it if you've got the app.
If you've got that app, you don't really have to do anything else in life. Just sit on the sofa and watch cycling all the time, and you can go back, watch it as many times as you want as well. So it's a fantastic little platform that I use regularly.
Well, you'll be able to catch up on your thoughts of Portuguese ceramics and indeed Italianate neo-Gothic structures as well. This is Palazzo Condal. Don't worry, Adam, I'll let you off the hook. He's thinking, no. Yeah, this is a fortified stately residence whose construction began in the 13th century. It took them ages to build it because it was Sir Roger of Liguria, the fleet admiral of the Crown of Aragon and Sicily, who commissioned it. And I imagine he probably died before it was finished. He probably lived in the caravan on site while they were busy building it. So,
definitely. Yeah. Big Rog, what a building.
Sir Rog of Liguria. There'll be more of that. Because it's going to be a long day. We are, would you believe, climbing at the moment. And to me, Cherie, it seems unkind that the road book sometimes tells a few fibs.
Oh, it does. Particularly when they leave out categorised or uncategorised climbs that should be categorised climbs.
Exactly.
And sometimes they're harder than the categorised climbs are.
They are. I was saying this to Sean earlier on. There are 17 climbs today, of which they've allowed 6 to be categorised, which leaves 11 that aren't. And that just seems a bit unfair. It makes it great for us, however, because it extends the climbing. Would you believe we are climbing now? All right, it seems a little bit nine, but just watch. This road's going to start to pick up and get a bit gnarly. And it's a leg sapper constantly, because you're thinking, hang on, I've been climbing here for, what, the last 20 minutes, and I still haven't started the climb. It must be heartbreaking, Adam, when you do a load of climbing and then all of a sudden you get a sign which says, start the climb.
Yeah, I think that's the worst thing with in days like this where you you think that you're on the climb, or you've been climbing for a long time, and then, as you said, Carlton, you get the sign that says start of the climb. I think, for me personally, when I was racing, flipping it, there wasn't many things worse than that, other than your director in your ear saying it's only about a K to the top, and it was 8.
What do I know that you do get some fibbing from DSs just to sort of jimmy you on, but Cherie, that can blow up in your face really when riders start not to trust you.
No, I think it's a case of that. Most of the riders will do their own homework, so you'll find on a day like today they'll have as much information that they've researched on the stages themselves. So there's no pulling the wool over anybody's eyes.
I do remember Alberto Contador absolutely berating his team for giving him misinformation during a time trial to try and jimmy him on, and he'd amended his pace in error. Didn't work. 102.3 kilometres from home, 22 seconds only the gap. It looks like we're going to get an enormous group out front, and if indeed that happens, then it may well be the killing off of the breakaway before we've even started. We've had one climb. We're bookended today by 2 Category 1 tests, but there's an awful lot of climbing, as you've already heard, in the intervening period. And so it is. I think this may even have a whiff of coming back together, Adam.
Yeah, I think that second group on the road there is definitely going to come back to that front group. These guys, I think, Jumbo-Visma have started riding on the front now, so they've taken control of the situation. They've just kept it around a minute and 16 at the minute. But yeah, they don't seem to be in too much of a rush, to be honest, to bring this back. I think they're quite happy with the situation and the gap at the minute. I'm sure we'll probably see it extend out a tiny bit, but I think with no GC guys in the front, there's no need really for Jumbo-Visma at the minute to shut this down.
Well, let's see. Hands going up for service. I mean, the requirements today are just basically to try and stay cool. The temperature's not as bad as it can be, to be fair. It's ebbed a little bit from the absolute out-and-out heat that punished this land not that long ago. We're running at 32 Celsius, still hot enough, Cherie.
Yeah, the riders will, you can see them going back for bidons now. Sometimes they can have upwards of 8, 10 bottles carrying back to their teammates, and they'll be reminded by the sports directors to keep drinking, keep eating. Even at this level, it's important to remind them, because it does take its toll, and you're always feeding and fueling for the next day.
Cherie, do you think it's more apposite and appropriate on less defined days? I mean, we have a very, very hot day today, so riders will be almost automatically sympathetic to taking on feed and fluids because they know they've got to. It's hot. On days when it's not so, is that where you can get mistakes?
Yeah, it's more so in the younger riders. You have to keep reminding them of exactly that, and when it's humid but overcast, sometimes that's the most dangerous part for the riders to be reminded, to keep fueling.
Lastridge is getting himself a bike change. No real drama. He seemed to be on a hurry up, however, because he doesn't want to lose connection with the group that he finds himself within. And it's a handy group. This is that big band of brothers of 24 riders. They're only 28 seconds down now on a group of 6 out front. What a spectacular viaduct. Adam will tell us all about it in just a moment. Only kidding. We're passing by the Puente de San Jorge, or Jorge, or Jorge, and it depends whether you're speaking Spanish, Catalan or Basque. I don't know. I only know that from Lorenzo, the motorcycle rider, who just changed his mind about how he wanted it to be pronounced almost constantly. But anyway, this is the San Jorge, stick with it, bridge. It was inaugurated in 1931. It looks kind of Romanesque, really, doesn't it? But it was so you didn't have to go down in the valley, pay the ferryman, and they come up the other side. It's just much easier, except if you happen to be a ferryman. Meanwhile, 6 riders up the road at the moment, but for how much longer? 25 seconds is the gap, and it looks like it may well be closed. It's 23 riders on the case of this sextet. And when you look at the names of those who are chasing in, Kuss, Omen, De Wolf, that's always scary, Jay Vine, we've got Aaron Burrow, we've got Gorka Irzagiri, Jack Haig, Grosshartner, goodness me, Lastra Barcello, we have Jesus Harada, also Krellick, Zivakov is on the chase as well. Just about everyone's going to be involved. Patilli, Kron, Kras, Nelson Oliveira, Carlos Verona, love him. He could do it today. Zeitz, Bardet. What a story that would be if he managed to go through the stone tumbler and then come away with something special. He's 26 minutes down, why not? Tuschfeldt, Kenneth Elisond, Polans and Matteo Trentin. That's a whole raft of quality right there. Jan Polans is the best placed and possibly the man they'll say, Jan, do you mind just leaving? Because he's 1:42 down only. The best placed of the rest, Felix Grosshardt, he's going to be a danger. Well, that might be the killing of the break. And the red jersey is only 1:35 down on our break, which you're looking at right now, of 6 riders. 3 from DSM. We've got Van Hoek from Lotto Soudal. We have Camargo from EF Education and Jeffrey Bouchard, who's just come to the front. Jeffrey won't be happy about the fact that there is a whole raft of talent bridging over to him, because I think Jeff would have been very pleased to have been part of this sextet all the way to the end. Not going to happen. Adam, with climbing, we're going to get an amalgamation, and we're going to have a group of, 30 riders. Is that too big to succeed?
No, I think it's just the right amount. Interestingly, you mentioned Pavel Sivakov in there as well, Carlton, the Ineos Grenadiers rider. Now, he'd be great if one of the riders, the GC riders from behind in that team, were to attack, and they'd have that. Being at only 1:40 right now, they might get a little bit closer, but if they do decide to attack, they have strength in numbers up the road with Pavel Sivakov, a very, very capable climber indeed. So if they sent one of the riders off, Carapaz, Bernal, Yates, that they would have more strength in numbers than they do with having them all in the peloton right now. So, you know, Jumbo-Visma, I'm sure, will be very aware of that and be able to mark that straight away. But interesting that Ineos have put one in there.
98 kilometres to go. Yeah, I think they've all got all the major teams have kind of got a marker up there. I'm just looking to see who you've got up there, Cherie, and the answer is nobody.
Nobody at the moment, no.
What's gone on?
Well, I would imagine they've given it a go. I spotted James Piccoli trying to get across at one point, but I think he just missed the boat there. So yeah, we've missed the trick today, and hopefully if it comes back together, somebody like James can show his strength a bit later on in the stage race. But you know, it's interesting to note that when these two groups do come together, it's 17 seconds now. Team DSM would have 5 riders up there, so they've clearly had a plan today to push the numbers and hopefully have a good result for themselves, because I think you mentioned earlier, Colton, that you know they were missing a result. So hopefully Bardet's recovered from his crash, and he's potentially looking at a good stage result.
I think Michael Storer would probably be their choice if, in the absence of Bardet being on top form. But what a statement that would be, Cherie, if indeed they get 5 up the road, and as you say, raft of quality there, and they do need the result.
Yes, I mean there's not only Israel Startup Nation, but there are several teams that are, you know, I would say desperate for a result, but need a result, you know, just for the morale of the team, you know, and the next 2 weeks, because this is stage 7, 2 weeks to go, and it's a long old stage race. You know, if you haven't got good morale, and one result will change all of that.
It does help. Adam, the mood of a team can be dramatically altered by in just one day. It kind of spins on a sixpence, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. And within those teams, you have you know, each and every rider as well, and that mood for each rider can change daily, hourly. I mean, it's you can have a terrible day for the team in terms of like Hugh Carthy right now in EF. I think there must be something wrong. I can't imagine that Hugh was going so well a couple of weeks ago, and now he's really struggling. So for Hugh, I think there's something that's bothering him that we're not aware of, the public. But for Hugh, you know, it's an awful blow for him and the team, but there might be riders in that race now that are feeling good and, you know, doing better in this race than they might thought be, and that might just be as simple as being in that group or just being in a group that's a select group. But it can really boost your confidence if you look around and you've got good legs and you're in a position where you didn't think you were, and just for your morale on that day, it can really boost it and give you quite a lot of energy almost, and make you feel better from just, as I said, as simple as being in a group further up the road than you thought might be.
It's nice. Car coming out of the gap here, just zipping around. There's a lot of riders to service. That could be a problem, Cherie, if you've got a breakaway and then a secondary group. You know, having enough vehicles to actually service there'll be a lot of cars going forward. Let's put it that way. There's very few teams that have missed out. Sorry to drive home the point.
No, not at all. I mean, you know, the way it will work is there'll be Swanniers at certain points that the riders will be aware of. We use a way marker on the platform VeloViewer that we use. And then also there's two team cars, so team car 1 will be behind the main peloton, and then if you have a rider in a breakaway, you will have the team car behind the breakaway. But generally the team cars will come up and fuel the riders, so the riders shouldn't necessarily be without any mechanical, if they need to change bike or a wheel, and indeed some nutrition.
I can counterpart that though. On days like this are the worst days. If you're in the groupette on a day like today, like I was generally, and you have a teammate that then goes in the breakaway, the car that normally stays with the gruppetto would then has to go up to the gruppetto is the last group on the road. That then has to go to the breakaway. Your main team car stays behind your protected rider still, and then that guy behind me, let's say for namesake, is left without a team car. So what happens is the teams have to, Cheryl will know all about this, you have to ask another team, if you're in a small group, can you just look after him? If he's got a problem, can you give him a wheel? So there is a lot of talking within the team cars, isn't there, Sherry, where
right,
you
yes.
know, you have to look after each other on the road a little bit.
Yeah, you just say hand over a few bottles to whatever team car is back there that's responsible for looking after the gruppetto. So we do look after each other.
Sticky shoes and resin on your hands. It's not Standard Edge, which Adam and I know well, but it's beautiful. The Mola de Cereles. There we are. If you fancy doing some overhanging free climbing, do take care. That's your place. About 1,000 metres. A lot of altitude gain today. In fact, 3,500 metres of climbing. When you have climbing, Adam, you also have descending, and you better be good at it because there's a lot of it today.
Descending is one of the main parts of these days. You know, I think everyone's got a lot more capable at descending. I think back in the day a little bit, you know, the gruppetto was able to gain a little bit of time on these long descents, whereas now, you know, you speak to a few riders that are in the gruppetto most days at the Tour de France and these days, and see they can't gain anything anymore because everyone's got great at descending and they're racing them full gas. So yeah, you have to have your wits about you, and you can save a lot of energy if you're comfortable on the bike and a good descender rather than a nervous one. You can really save quite a bit of energy going down these hills.
It's a skill set that's come very much to the fore. I remember, Cherie, we used to talk about Chris Froome as not being at the top of our list as far as descenders were concerned. I don't know what he did, but he turned himself into one of the meanest descenders on planet Earth, and it's a skill that is absolutely essential. It seems to have got magnified of late.
Yeah, it is a skill for sure, and sometimes you find that the best climbers are not often the greatest descenders, and you know, I have been known that some climbers do use I think they're called descending coaches almost, where they use training days to specifically train to go downhill, but it is a skill. Some are better than others. I was never any good at descending. I could go uphill, but it always frightened me to death going downhill.
I loved going downhill, I must admit. It was one of those things I always found kind of easy. I know it's weird, isn't it? But there you go. Climbing was my problem. Meanwhile, King of the Mountains classification looks like this. Haig has 10. This is all, of course, the spin out from our last categorised test. Taramai on 10, but the larger category climb, an assembly of points for Taramai. But Haig nabs 10 and takes the lead of this classification, Adam.
So far, he's got a lot of climbing to go through yet. But yeah, I think Haig was really, going very, very well at the Tour de France, and I'm sure that, he'll have tried to hold on to that form or even build on that form he had at the Tour de France. So he's a very capable climber, Jack Haig. So I'm sure we'll see him, probably get more points and even hold on to that jersey for a few days if he focuses on it.
Let us see. A few of you out there enjoying the stage. It's nice to hear from you. Cabeza de Carrera, the front of the group you're looking at right now. It's just showing you with this amalgamation, it's just showing you some of the gaps which are quite modest, really. And Jan Palance is extremely well placed. I do wonder whether he might be asked to go away in quiet terms. Maybe they'll be happy to lend the jersey to him. I have no idea. And let's remind ourselves that it's Primoz Roglic, of course, and it's another Slovenian Palance. If he's going to hand it to anyone, Cherie, maybe to Palance.
This seems pretty handy, that, isn't it? They always seem to have the numbers, the Slovenians, in various forms. So we'll have to wait and see.
It's amazing, isn't it? You get these national waves of talent. Ireland had so much of it, of course, which Sean Kelly was very much part of. But it seems Slovenia just wrestling control of cycling. Denmark as well just come and go in waves, don't they? They've already had their fun in this race.
Definitely, Denmark are very strong at the moment.
Amazing.
Avec Romain Bardet au départ de cette nouvelle étape.
With Romain Bardet at the beginning of today's stage. Tell us about yesterday. You lost 13 minutes. How are you feeling? What were your sensations during the climb? Well, yesterday I tried to sift it up as much as possible, he said, and when I found a group, my knee's still painful, but I stay optimistic, and I hope that it will get better. How do you feel? And is it getting better? It's difficult to say because on the bikes 4 or 5 hours a day, it never happened to me before. What matters is that I'm still in the race, and I just hope that I have less pain day after day. The idea today, let it go, or in order to recover. I've no plan so far, he says. We're still at the beginning, so we'll just see how it goes, and I just hope that it gets better. It's an interesting one, Adam. It looked like his back was the main trouble. And apparently he took a bigger hit than was apparent by his torn jersey. And apparently the material that is used by Team DSM offers up a little bit more protection. Now, I don't know whether it's supposed to slide along the road and is strong enough to actually hold together, but apparently it displays injury far less, or impact far less, and holds together better. I've no idea about it. I don't know if you're any the wiser, but apparently it's some kind of non-stick thing.
Yeah, I think it's just it's a non-tear material, so it's supposed to, I think, any sort of hit might really damage it a little bit. It just depends how hard you slide on the floor, but it's supposed to not tear, so just protect the skin from cuts and bruises. Obviously it's not going to protect it from a big old whack on the floor, but protect you from road rash. So I think the road rash for Romain could have been a lot worse if he'd have not worn that jersey or the shorts, wherever it might have been. But
do you know what the material is called? I can't remember.
I do. I shall tell you later though, because it's not on the forefront of my mind at the minute.
It's strange really, because you and shirt material, you kind of go together, don't you?
Yeah, it's all about the silk though. You can't wear that in cycling. But interestingly, Kelly Elissonde and Romain Bardet have attacked this leading group at the minute that Trentin is still sat on the front of. So I wonder what the tactic is here. He wasn't happy with Trentin's speed there, I guess.
I've no idea. I think, to be honest, now that they have amalgamated, as it were, I think this is a French push for glory, and why not? It's a big supergroup out front of 29 riders. Here we go. KOM points it is up for grabs, and they're just heading to our next crest. In fact, it comes right now. There it is. It's a Category 3 test. You take what you can get out of a race, Cherie, and if you suddenly have to reboot your ambitions for a King of the Mountains jersey, then so be it.
It seems like Team DSM have had a bit of a firecracker in the team meetings, and they're certainly taking on the stage today.
Nice to see. Well, two Frenchmen duking it out. Bardet would probably be favourite. Well, if he is suffering, he looks pretty handy here, Adam. This bodes well for him later on.
Does indeed. He's obviously wanted to take those points. Easy points, really. There's no real big threat there. Kenny going for the Kelly Ellis on, that is, from Trek. Going for the points as well. But yeah, easy points for him there, which that might be the aim of this tour for him now. He's out of the GC sort of contention. He might be looking to try and get a jersey. Obviously a stage win, I'm sure that's on his mind, but also along with a jersey maybe as well.
I think so. Just going back to Bardet's injury, he took a tumble. His jersey held together probably better than other jerseys, but it must have been a big old slam if it was to tear, and it's a special non-tearing, oh gosh, I don't like concrete blocks on the outside of a corner. Sorry, just suddenly had a worry there. But his main worry is his knee, and it's because his cleat didn't disengage from the pedal. And Cherie, he hit the deck and basically had his knee twisted because his shoe didn't disengage. There are different pressures that they put on to the meeting of cleat and pedal, and some settings, I guess, are a little bit firmer than others, and it looks like he's fallen foul of that.
Yes, he did come down very heavily, and I don't think he had a lot of time to react. Yeah, and you're quite right. Some riders prefer their cleats to be on the pedal adjustment to be very, very firm, and some like a lot more movement. So it is a personal. I know the cleats, some of the, particularly certain brands, you can have different colours that give the strength of cleat tightness, and maybe that was an issue for Romain Bardet, but I would suspect it was more the fact that he couldn't respond quick enough to disengage from the pedal.
Apparently, the crash happened in front of him. He slowed down and stopped, and everything was well until somebody came and smacked him up the backside, and down he went. So, a bit of bad luck, really, I think, because he must have thought he'd avoided the crash and then got collected as other people crashed, unfortunately, and he went down hard. And it's his knee that's the problem. Didn't look like he was in too much trouble. He said it's walking about that's the issue, not being on the bike, and I guess he'll take that as something of a blessing.
Well, he's certainly showing some strength today. He doesn't seem to be having a problem with his knee today.
No, he doesn't, which is great. So thank heaven he is pushing on. He might even be an outside tip for the day. Just watch out. Mikkel Nieve just looking for some sustenance. Some of you will take some on a break now. Well, the wind's still with us. It's moving round to a southeasterly today, and that will have an impact a little bit later on. In fact, it'll be if it stays a southeasterly, it will be a direct headwind for the last 2 kilometres on the final climb, which seems to add to the cruelty, to be honest. We are descending. We've taken a Category 3 test. This is a 7 kilometre descent. And then, Adam, we have 13 kilometres of climbing with the intermediate climbs that are non-categorised, 2 of them on the approach to the Puerto de Tudons, and the climb itself, Category 2, could be an awful lot worse. It's not detailed as 13 kilometres in length. In fact, it's said to be, I'll tell you now, 7.1 kilometres. The parkour on the road book here, you know this from the Vuelta, it's hard to read because, quite frankly, it's full of a lot of hidden secrets.
Yeah, it's all a lie. No, you get the general gist, and as Sherry said about a while ago, that they have VeloViewer, a platform which most of the professional teams use, so they get a real detailed look at every little bit of bump in the road, and they have that in the car as they're driving along, and it gives them updates about what's next in the road. And you know, the sports director will relay that information so you're well updated and you know what's coming, what pain is ahead of you, which is not always a nice thing to hear in your ears.
Well, what's also not nice is when you get some surprises, quite frankly. And say this quietly, but it's renowned, the Vuelta road book, as being late to press and full of inconsistencies. I think that's the kindest I can say, Cherie.
Well, I haven't actually experienced a Vuelta, so I can't comment on the race Bible. You know, like Adam has just mentioned, we use the VeloViewer platform, and you can go into a hell of a lot of detail there. You can see the bumps and the mountains ahead for the guys, and you generally break that down as best as possible for them. Some guys like a lot of information, some don't, but you can try and give them to the point, brief information about what's coming ahead.
I think some would like no information whatsoever. I'd just like to be guided almost pedal stroke by pedal stroke. Welcome back, everybody. Just shooting the breeze as we're on this long descent, longish, 7 kilometres. Gosh, those helicopters look a bit close. I think that's foreshortening of the camera, or at least I hope so. Not any meshed rotors on a day like this. Haig leads the mountains classification after coming over and taking the category 3 test in Banyoba. And he finds himself, because he has taken the biggest categorised climb today, in the lead of that competition. Whether he'll be in the lead at the end of the day is anybody's guess. He does have himself a chance. He's the one sole representative of Bahrain Victoria. So they had so many options today. I'm almost surprised he's alone. Mark Pardon, I thought, would definitely have come up for the trip. He tried early on but didn't quite make it, and there's a few other good riders that have missed the trip, unfortunately. Cherie bemoaning the fact, or at least just cursing her luck, that Guy Nev didn't make it over, who gave it a go. There's a few others as well that tried. I thought Beric or Piccioli would have been, Piccoli would have had a go today. I'm sure that was part of the battle plan, Cherie.
Yeah, I think it was. Certainly those 3 riders that you mentioned would have been up for the breakaway, and no doubt they would have tried. But it's not as simple, to get into the breakaway of the day. And you need a lot of luck as well.
Almost especially today, with a category 1 test out the back door. There wasn't even any room to start moving up apart from anything else, because so many teams, as soon as they got teammates up the road, were part of a lockdown. It was hard.
Yeah, and you can see that by the numbers in this group of 30. There's obviously certain teams that are not as Ineos have got one up there, and I think Bahrain have got one there, so they've obviously got a back plan for the back end of the stage when the GC riders start lighting the stage up.
Looks like a medieval rocket project, but this is the Castillo de Panela, oh, here we are. It says it dates back to the 13th century, offers magnificent view of its square tower, made of masonry stone and rammed earth, standing 15 metres tall and attached to the enclosing wall. Some stretches of this enclosure can also be seen. Shall I go on? It's quite detailed. The tourist guide, by the way, of which I'm dipping into today because it is a long day, is enormous. It's 375 pages, and today I printed off just today, and just today is 38 pages. So if you hear a shuffling of paper, you know what's going on. How's this going to pan out, Adam?
I'm not too sure yet. I think this, Jumbo-Visma are riding on the front. I think they've got Robert Gesink, it is by the looks of things, riding on the front at the minute. The gap is still carried to keep on increasing, and Trentin is doing a great job on the front of that group there. He's not really come off the front yet, so he's driving the pace on very hard and making it difficult for this peloton to close that gap. So he's doing a fantastic job, and I think at the minute, the way it's going, it depends how people ride it in that front group. It's still a large group, and there'll be guys in there that are obviously more capable climbers than others, for the likes of Roman Bardet. I think if it keeps going the way he does, then he'll be sniffing out a stage win.
I think he will. I think it'll put a little plaster on what is quite a scuffed old back that he's got. Look at the pace we've got coming into town here. and we are going to bounce, and it will be almost immediately into climbs, albeit that not categorised, at least at the beginning. Is this Benny Yoba or Benny Choba, Adam? I don't know.
Either one of the two, Carlton.
Yeah, this is where we need Rob Hatch, linguistic genius, to fill us in, quite frankly. Jan Palance, I was wondering whether he would be allowed in the break, to be honest. Well, he is up here, and I think it's for he that Matteo Trentin is working for. They've got Kenny Elissonde, who's also setting a little bit of a pace, but why not? He's already had, of course, the leader's jersey on the Giro. And
at the minute, Carlton,
is he chasing red? Go on.
Yeah, at the minute he's in the red jersey. He's only 142 back,
that's right.
I think. So he's at the minute he's currently
virtual
leading the race. Yeah, so it's obvious now, isn't it? Now you've mentioned it, Carlton, that he's that's the reason why Trentin's doing the work.
Yeah. Yeah, it's for Jan Palance, and I don't think Roglic will particularly mind handing it over to another Slovenian. So I think the biggest challenge really is that with so many breakaways, how difficult has it been for him so far to get in? I don't know what his effort was, but then everyone has had quite a bit of work to do. Feed time. For those who are up front, and Movistar with Nelson Oliveira and Carlos Verona. Carlos Verona himself is not a bad bet for a day like today. I always, whenever I hear the name Carlos Verona, I start thinking of My Sharona, and a tune starts in my head. I'm sorry if I've put that worm in your mind. 83 kilometres to go. A little bit of a lull in the action, Cherie, and that's no bad thing. Everyone, you have to have an ebb and flow on a day, and it looks like we're having an ebb.
Yeah, normally around about this time, sort of 100k into the stage or 100k to go, you'll have musettes with specific nutrition, energy bars of some sort for the riders. So it looks like it's lunchtime there for everybody. So the pace doesn't go off. It just everybody sort of gets an opportunity to put their musette bags on safely and make sure that they can all get a feed.
It's quite a job, Adam, to feed 29 riders.
It is a job to feed 29 riders indeed, especially hungry riders.
What sort of calorie intake are we talking about for these guys?
It depends between each rider, and certain riders like to stomach more food than others, but you know, on a day like today, probably around 4,000 calories they'll burn, and yeah, it's just ultimately it's up to them what they. I think, you know, you can try to eat everything down to the T and have all this food, but some days, as in normal life, some days you're hungry, some days you're not. But it's just about keeping that fuel in without eating too much and feeling sick as well.
Geoffrey Bouchard, I think he's probably the most fed up that this has become a much bigger group. He would have been the star turn, the lead singer, if you like, of the initial group of 6. But Bouchard's boys, I'm afraid, have been tagged, and there's an awful lot of talent there that you just can't pick. Sepp Kuss is finding himself in the front group. He's got his teammates who are doing a bit of pacing behind, just making sure that nothing silly happens. You don't want this to skittle away from you. After all, Cherie, they're clever enough and bright enough, smart enough to know that this group could pose a danger if it got to be a silly gap. So I think we're going to see it held at around this margin for quite some time.
Yeah, I can't see it getting much bigger than 3.5-4 minutes, if not staying at the gap it is at now. You know, they can manage. There's just 2 riders riding on the front of the GC group, if you like, and it's something that when they get to the back end, you know, with sort of that final climb, that gap will come down very significantly. If not, the break will get smaller, and we might see that break going to the line. But I suspect it's going to come from the GC group.
It's interesting though that they've got 2 riders now on the front of that peloton. We've not seen anyone in the past 20k pretty much since I came on, so more than that, 30-40k. No one's overtaken Trentin apart from the mountain points, which Romain Bardet and Kelly Ellison sprinted for, but they've had to put 2 riders on the front of that chasing peloton now, 2 riders from Jumbo-Visma. So there's 2 riders against 1 at the minute, so they are obviously getting worried about it if they put 2 riders at the front rather than just keeping the one Robert Geesink.
We're going to hear from Sepp Kuss in a few moments' time. He's found himself out front. He's had a a mixed race so far, I think it's fair to say. But a lot falling upon his shoulders in terms of expectation almost constantly, because he produces very, very impressive performances and then kind of goes off the boil. It's the nature of the way he rides, I think. But anyway, let's hear what he's got to say.
With Sepp Kuss from the team Jumbo-Visma. Sepp, today is the first real mountain stage. How will you organize in the team for today? Let the breakaway go or control all the day? How will you organize?
I think we have to see from the start. It's almost immediately it's uphill with the really hard climb, and I think there we'll see what other teams are planning. So I think other than that, we can only focus on ourselves and seeing what kind of group goes away. If it's a good group for us, then we'll have to see the situation and see how Primoz is feeling. But yeah, it's still a long Vuelta, and there's a lot of guys that are close that could also go into the red jersey if it's a really strong breakaway.
Do you and Primoz know the climb of today? Did you recognize some parts of the stage, not the final maybe?
We don't know the final climb, but we've had some good help of people with videos, so we have a good idea of what to expect.
And do you feel good, better and better? How is the shape for you and for the other teammates?
Yeah, I think it's good. Yeah, I'm feeling better and looking forward to doing the real climbs. And for sure it's going to be a hard day, but I hope to be feeling good today.
We need big climbs to be better and better. Is it what you think?
Oh, it depends. I think the tour was really hard, and I'm still a bit tired from that. But yeah, this race I like a lot, and I'm motivated for it, and that's what's most important.
Thank you very much, Sepp.
Thank you.
It was a difficult Tour de France. And in fact, the variation in Sepp Kuss's performances, it's hard to read, to be honest, because he sacrifices himself so well for his team principle, of course. But yeah, he had some mixed results in the mountains, only 60th into teen in the Tour de France. There's a few others, the Grand Bonnant finishing in 43rd place, I think it was. And then a couple of days later, bang, straight into Andorra. And everyone's surprised that Sepp Kuss put on such a magnificent performance that day at stage 15 it was, in the second week. His form is variable, but he recognises that, but he's an amazing lieutenant for, of course, Roglic or anyone else he's riding for. Sepp Kuss is a fabulous performer. It's just that there is a big variation in his skill set. Now, he came into this race, and I think we were probably a bit surprised, to be honest, how well he went in the time trial. Time trialling is a kind of a weak link for him, really, in his, if he was to bid for a Grand Tour title himself. He is, of course, a great rider. He's had stage wins, not least in the Tour de France, as you well know. So yeah, he can produce the goods, and a day like today, he could blow very hot indeed, Cherie.
Yeah. He's got a good team around him. You know, I think if he's given an opportunity, he'll certainly take it. I mean, I think Adam will agree with me. He can, as you say, blow hot and cold, but you never know on a day like today.
I agree.
Sorry, I'm just tucking in some sushi.
Delicious.
Yeah, I don't get any time off. I can't nip to the pizzeria like Sean Kelly. We went off early. I'm going to berate him about that.
There's another great thing here that's not changed within cycling for a long time, and that's the classic little can of Coca-Cola that the two Jumbo-Vismas are drinking on the front now, which is, yeah, I love the can of Coke.
Well, everyone needs a treat, Cherie.
Yeah, and the little can there will do the trick. It's very refreshing if you have had too many bottles and energy drinks and rice cakes and more gels and everything else that the riders have in the musette bags. But it's interesting to see the various preferences of what different riders like. Some like a bit of savoury, a bit of brioche with ham and cheese. Others like the traditional energy bar and gel. And some like fruit, some like, you know, it can be very varied, but it's always managed very well nutritionally from the nutritionists on the team.
I'm not sure what Peter Sagan's proclivity for a handful of gummy bears, says about nutrition, but it didn't seem to do him any harm, actually.
No. I mean, it is a favourite. It's in fact it's a favourite for certain sports directors as well to have Haribos in their team car. I think people that know me, particularly the Swannies, they'll always park a packet of Haribos in the team car for me.
Crocodiles or teddy bears?
Oh, anything Haribo apart from the savoury ones. Or the sweet and sour ones, I'm not sure. But
having worked in the gum department at Bassett's, which I think were part of Maynard's, so wine gums and things like that, where during the shutdown as a young teenager, to earn some pocket money, I know an awful lot about gummy sweets. And in the old days, they used to the first pressing was for the pale, and that was your sort of grapefruit, I think it was the flavour. And then all of the gum that was mismoulded and everything could be melted down. Then you'd dye it yellow and flavour it lemon, and then orange, and so it went until you got to blackcurrant, which was all the all the remoulds. So those who know, within gum factories of old, I'm sure it's changed now, would never touch a blackcurrant. It was a powerful flavour that would mask all the other flavours of which the blackcurrant sweets were made.
Oh, well, she hadn't have told me that now.
There you go. I think it's different now because the processes are far cleaner. But in the old days, it was scrape off, melt down, reconfigure, and you mosh all the colours together. It comes out brown. So they dyed it black and went, yeah, blackcurrant. There you go. Get it down here. That's why the kids went, oh, this flavour's so powerful. It's fantastic. That's the reason why.
Jumbo-Visma are still 2 riders on the front, and they have not really brought this gap down now. I'm sure they're trying to stabilise it, but you can see just again Matteo Trentin is doing a phenomenal job at the moment. A very, very capable climber as a sprinter as well. But he's I'm going to say they've come on to the next climb now, but I think they've been on it for about 10k. But he's doing a brilliant job so far. And let's not forget, within this group as well, you've got all these riders. It's not going to be easy, but they've not had to do a tap on the front yet. So even though they're going uphill, they'll save you a little bit of energy. You've got Elisond on the back there, Kenny Elisond. I was about to call him Kellison then. But yeah, he's doing a fantastic job. And ultimately, for these riders in this group, giving them a nice free ride, really.
Kelly's son, I think you nearly called him. I don't think so. We'll have to ask Sean a bit later. We're going to the Puerta de Tudon. This is not the most testy climb, apart from the fact that it's introduced by a whole sequence of climbs which actually very close to it in terms of its punishment. This is 5.2% stretched over 7.1 kilometres, but there is a flattish section. The most difficult part is 7%, and it looks like there may well be approaching that right now. It's about 6%. There is a flatter section that they're about to get to, and then it kicks up again. We have some real tests still to come, not least of course at the very end of the day, when we're going to be talking about 14% quite a lot. But the toughest inclines were actually on the first climb of the day, Cherie, and it probably explains the fact that it got very selective very quickly. Yeah, it did, and that's why so many riders were in trouble right from the start with the pace that these guys set off at. It would have made the legs very, very sore. But this climb that we're on now, Tudons, is well known by many bike riders, particularly the British riders that come across to Alicante and so on. They would have done this climb. We've done this Tudons climb several times in our training camps back in the day. It's a lovely part of the world. You must have spent an awful lot of time around these roads, Adam, not just because of the Vuelta, but training camps as well. And a lot of riders base themselves in the winter time, don't they, in Spain?
They do indeed, yeah. I had a couple of training camps down in Spain with various other teams, but yeah, it's the warmer climate and the difficult terrain makes for a great training camp, and as we're seeing, great racing as well, if you've got good legs, that is. Good legs essential today, especially at the top and tail. It's where our major climbs are. Just coming by some what look like olive groves. Occasionally you see that they have netting underneath them to stop the fruit actually spoiling on the ground once it falls.
I see you want is a spotty olive. Anyway, 2 minutes and 57. That gap's opening up a bit, Cherie.
Yeah, I think Jumbo have got it in control. I certainly wouldn't be worried at this stage. As like you said, there's a hell of a lot of climbing still to come in this stage, and yeah, one in not so distant future, and then the final kick to the finish. So I don't think they're worried too much at the moment.
We're approaching the highest part of the day, by the way, 1,025 metres. It's the ceiling, if you like, the roof of the stage. Once we go over the top in 4.5 kilometres time, we're going to have some fun then. We have a very, very long descent, Adam, 18 kilometres of your favourite kind of riding.
18 kilometres is my favourite kind of riding, and it is, I think, with the heat as well today and just the brutality of today's route, it's just going to be challenging all the way through it. But as I said, these riders at the minute, I think the beauty of Trentin riding on the front, the gap's gone out now, so with Trentin on his own, as I said earlier, doing a phenomenal job at the minute. But for the riders in this group, they've got essentially a free ride, and some of them might not be enjoying this pace that's being set by Trentin at the minute, but some might still be feeling okay for it and be able to hold back a little bit. If they're on their own, they might push on a little bit more, a bit too hard. But the way that he's riding for these riders, if they're looking for a stage win, the likes of Roman Bardet, particularly within that group, it's a perfect situation for him. Team UAE riding for the red jersey to try and get their rider Jan Polancs in there into the red jersey at the end of the day. And other riders, likes of Roman Bardet, looking for a stage win, as many more are in that group as well, I'm sure.
Last row you just saw, bobbing up these hills, you'll know them extremely well. Asking you will receive Jamie and a few others as well. Will Poole, Matthew Newell as well. The material is called Dyneema, and somebody, I think Gary Hill, suggesting it may contain graphene. Is that right, Adam? Does that ring a bell?
Yeah, I just had a couple of messages from Emily Bramia, the press officer there, Phil West, also a sports director there, and it's all made in-house by DSM.
Wow.
Sorry, I was doing a lot of they're messaging me then, but they're not. They're just giving me the correct information so we can relay it to you lovely listeners at home, that it is made in-house, and it's on the back of their jerseys, the shorts as well. So they're... I think it's probably the only one of the companies that really do that, and I think to be made in-house by DSM, what a great sponsor to be able to look after the riders in one of the most dangerous aspects of bike racing, and that's the crashing.
Indeed, and the safer you can make it. I mean, if a jersey is not going to tear, it means your skin's not going to tear either, Adam.
Well, hopefully that's the plan with it. As we said, you can't. It's not going to help if you fall hard and bump yourself, but it's definitely going to add a layer of extra protection, which a lot of clothing manufacturers don't make at the minute.
Graphene is amazing material, if indeed that is what's being part of that amazing cloth that we're talking about, and it's a two-dimensional material, because it's only 1 micron thick as it's produced. So how do you use it? That's been the thing, because in terms of strength to weight ratio, it is the strongest thing known to man. It's part of your lead pencil, quite frankly, but if you can lay it up in a bonded form within other materials, it is incredibly strong. And I believe there is a couple of films about graphene and the potential for it on the GCN app. So go and have a look, indeed, if you are a subscriber, because it's one of those wonder materials that, quite frankly, we know it exists, but we've been struggling, Cherie, to find a use for it and its strengths, and how to adapt it for use, I guess, in all different kinds of forms. If it's being used in cloth, it'll certainly be used in harder materials like bike frames, I imagine, in the future.
Yeah, I believe they've already looked into using graphene. I think there is a bike manufacturer that does build a frame made from graphene, but I think when it's been used in clothing, I'm no expert in in clothing manufacture. I think a lot of it is down to the way the skin makes contact with the ground, and I think it just protects the skin from, or the material from not causing that burn friction so much. So I would suspect that I'm sure somebody from DSM will let us know.
Remarkable stuff. You learn something every day, says Graham Potter. Blackcurrant gummy bears. Childhood ruined, he said. Apparently he used to pick them out specially, and now his tummy's feeling a bit squiffy. Well, there you go. Sorry, Graham. But, I've got to tell the truth. 3 minutes and 13 is the gap. Time to do a bit of bouncing is Jeffrey Bouchard. Poor old Jeff. The day was going so well for him, Adam, and then all of a sudden he gets a whole raft of people who are going to deny him. What's AG2R Citroen's man to do? Get on with it.
Yeah, he's just got to get on with it, really. I think there's nothing else you can do, but it's just the brutality of the sport sometimes, that you do have to just let your legs do the talking and either hang on or either hammer or the nail, as a lot of people like to say on a lot of days, and sometimes you're the hammer and sometimes you're the nail. But just look at trying to figure out how long Movistar are going to keep doing what they're doing and how long they're going to go for before they pick a leader within that team. They're in a fantastic place at the moment with Mas, Lopez and Valverde in there. We've already heard from Pachi Villa, their sports director, that Valverde, he doesn't think that he'll eventually go for GC. He's sitting in a great place right now, and I'm sure that team would love to, get him a stage win or even get him into the red jersey for a day. But there must become a point where they have to decide upon one leader. It's still early in the race. We're still only in the first week of racing, but with such strength in numbers at the front at the minute, and 3 cards to play ultimately in the situation we're in now in the race, I think it's going to be interesting to see what they do and how they do play things, because I think Lopez and Mas will secretly, be wanting to get the upper hand on one another, rather than try and come up with one dedicated leader. And that is a tough situation to be in for the sports director when they say, we're going for you and only you, so you have to help that guy when they're so close on GC. So it's going to be interesting who attacks first out of them two, if they're both feeling good or if they're under team orders. As we've seen Movistar be under strict team orders before, that they can't do things. So it's going to be interesting.
Certainly is. Cherie, breaking bad news to riders is a tough thing. I guess they understand the pressures that you would be under as a DS as well, but even just selection to go to a Grand Tour, there'll be some that you have to say, look, I'm sorry, you're just not going to make it this time by. It's not an easy task.
No, it isn't, and it's one of those, you've got to be a strong personality, to be able to sit down with a rider and explain why he's not made selection, when it may have been on his horizon or might have been in his plans pre-season, when you sit down and chat with the riders. And that could be for many reasons. It could be form, it could be lack of results, but it's one of those things that we have to get used to, and sometimes you have to be bold in the way you explain that to a rider, and then try and pick him up. And I think the hardest bit, and Adam will agree here, is picking a rider up when they have had a disappointment, when the focus has been maybe on a Grand Tour, a particular monument or race that he's focused on. Picking a rider up is sometimes the hardest.
Yeah, it definitely is. I think more so for the Grand Tours, for the riders that are looking to do something there in terms of get results, goes to stage wins. I think for those guys, rather than a domestiques really, that's when it becomes a little bit more challenging. I think if you're looking to, if you're a sprinter, say, there's definitely other races, more opportunities than big hilly races, Grand Tours. There's only 3 a year, so it's not easy to get selected for the races for sure. And I think if you're definitely a GC rider or someone that's looking to go for a general classification or something like that, if you miss out on selection, then it's a massive blow. But I think it's definitely more challenging for those kind of riders than it is for the domestiques or the sprinters, where they can quite easily rock into another race and do the same job almost.
James Gilbert has said Dyneema fibre has got nothing to do with graphene. I don't know. We're talking about super materials though, James. Others say it has, but I don't know. I'm they're in the laying up process.
Let's keep it with, it protects them.
Yes.
It protects them from the road a little bit more than just the normal cycling attire.
Apparel, yes. John Mornington, by the way, says Victoria use graphene in their tyres. It's getting everywhere. It'll be in your cornflakes next. Hard to chew, apparently. 1,300 metres until we get to the top of this next test, and a cruel one really, because there's been several little peaklets that you've possibly seen while you get to the top. Is that a fixed grin at the front there? It looks very much Wallace and Gromit, doesn't it? He'll get to the top and then he'll have an 18-kilometre descent, 1.1 kilometres. Oh, and the heads are shaking here, and this is tough.
The pace has gone up, I think, Carlton. Sorry for the KOM points. You see Romain Bardet coming towards the front again, and Ellison right on his wheels. So near in the top of the climb, Trentin off the front, and mainly because of those points, I'm sure we'll see him back off a little bit. But I think this looks to be for the KOM points towards the top of the hill here.
Well, they're shredding their own man, aren't they, Aronson? You're just struggling, but that's when you've got an abundance of riches at moments such as this. This is a big reach out for Bardet. If he does indeed take the day, he's got a whole raft of mountains points to go for. You see Ellison, who is on his back wheel with just over 900 metres to go. We're nearly there, and then that 18-kilometre descent. Ellison, how's he going to manage this one? Bardet clearly looks the stronger. Ellison perhaps leaving it late. He'll take a good aero assist from Bardet. Indeed, if Bardet accidentally leads him out, it's going to get cagey right until the very last, I think. And it looks like Geoffrey Bouchard is struggling just a little bit, and so is Lastra from Caja Rural. Surprised to see both of those getting into trouble. It's indicative of the pace that we've got. Bottles being handed out as well on the climb here, or at least begged for by some, and no surprise. 700 metres or so remaining. This is a long old reach, and it's having a big impact on this group, Cherie.
Yeah, definitely. It's DSM have clearly come out today with a plan, and wow, they're certainly laying the cards on the table there, and I think it looks like it's all for Bardet.
Certainly does look that way. And woe betide anyone who challenges him. Bardet, of course, starting off as one of the pre-race amongst the favourites that you'd expect to possibly target a top 5, maybe a top 10. But things didn't go his way since the tumble. 26 minutes down, and
well.
Yeah, why not? There's battles to be fought for here, Adam.
There definitely is indeed. That's an interesting one. So Jan Pollank as well, not looking just for that red jersey again today, but also for the mountains jersey. Well, I'm sure that was a unexpected little surprise there from Bardet. Well, but why not?
Yeah, why not? This is fantastic. If there's a tasty morsel to be had from slim pickings amongst a massive group of 29, then you've got to be brave. And Jan Pollank, who's only a minute and 42 down, very, very different scenario to Romain Bardet. He clearly believes he's got a bit of licence today, Cherie, but if he hasn't, that's good insurance. He's on the blower at the moment, saying he took that climb. I'm sure his team are fully aware. It was a Category 2 test as well. Definitely,
yes. That was pretty exciting there, and it certainly woke us up to the top of that climb. So I think, you know, there's that King of the Mountains jersey is going to be exciting in the next, certainly in the next 2 or 3 stages.
I think as well is what is nice for UAE there, for Pollank especially, is that they have, with the help of DSM trying to get those mountain points, those little accelerations, a kilometre before the top of the climb, just keep extending that gap a little bit. We can slowly see it creeping up again, 3:15, and that will not happen in the peloton. They won't suddenly pick up for points, they won't speed up to get these points. So DSM going for their own ambitions for the jersey, but aiding also UAE at the same time. So a great situation there for Jan Pollank as well, if he is looking to get in that red jersey, which we think he is, don't we?
I think so, and I don't think Roglic will mind. They'll probably have a little celebration together. Why not? Spectacular little outcrop here, as you can see. Looks like a monitoring station at the top. Aerial surveillance squadron. There we are.
3:25 now, so the gap is still going out. It's interesting that they're controlling the race, they're letting the gap grow out as you predicted, Sherry, with the 3.5-4 minutes. And I think, you know, if it stays around here, you know, they really have to keep a hold on it, and they're going to get fresh men towards the front. Are they going to get other teams come up to ride? You're going to just see Roglic on the bottom bit of your screen now, moving up to the front finally. He's been sat in about 20th position for the last 20k, and he has started to finally move up now. I wonder if he'll have a word to say we need to push on a little bit, or if he's happy with the situation and he's just getting in position for the next coming descent.
Take a break in a moment. Your thoughts, Cherie? This is there's a danger of this spinning out of control, so they're going to have to work hard to just maintain a respectable gap here, I think.
Yeah, it looks like there's a little bit of change of guard on the front of the GC group there. Jumbo are still pushing on, but they're looking at one another there to see who's going to take it up. And I was just wondering then whether Movistar would do the classic and start moving to the fore and use their men up, I guess traditionally as they do, but they haven't quite come to the fore just yet. Or am I? That looks like Astana coming through there now, but you know. Ineos moving through there, so does look like there's going to be some assistance there. They don't want that gap to go out too big, and I would say, you know, 4 minutes is as big as that. 70k, 69k to go. They certainly don't want it going out any bigger than that.
No, there's still a goodly distance, so it's manageable for the time being. It was Jon Izagirre that came through for Astana just to put himself on the front. They are master descenders, Astana. If you had to pick a couple of teams, you'd probably say Movistar and Astana would certainly be bossing any kind of descent, but Astana in particular seem to be very, very good at it. Omar Freire, who was struggling earlier on today, not part of this group. He could have made up a lot of ground on this kind of descent. The trees have become extremely still, and the wind has indeed abated and moved to the southeast, which will give us a headwind finish late on, but they're probably going to be protected by the lee of the mountain, I'd have thought. 3 minutes 33, half a devil is the gap that we have, with 68.6 kilometres of the day remaining. We've got 18 kilometres of descending. At the bottom of this we will have Sean Kelly, who's going to rejoin us, probably just dabbing his lips after his pizza, and then we're going to bid a fond farewell. Adam, don't go just yet. We've got this descent to deal with, and I know you love it so much. It's been great to have you along for the ride. Are you on the sofa later on?
I shall be on the sofa, yeah. Myself and Sherry and the lovely Orla will be on there to dissect the action from today's stage. So yeah, we will be there. Join us.
Here's your big one of your big hairpins that you're going to be dealing with, Adam. Of all the skills that you need as a rider, descending is going to be very important. Do you think this gap is going to close on this descent? It's 18 kilometres long, for goodness sake, and Astana look motivated to at least eat something.
Yeah, I don't think it will close. You can see Bardet still on the front. Oh, it's not Bardet, one of the riders. It might be Bardet still. Sorry, I can't make it out as it's in that tucked position. But yeah, I don't think it will come down. It's gone out still, 3:33 now. It's sort of stabilised around that mark. But yeah, it won't go down. They'll be very keen to keep this rolling as quick as they can down this descent. And ultimately, you know, no one wants to take any risk going down these descents. But look how nice it is. Big, wide road, not too technical, fast and flowing. So it's... yeah, 80k an hour.
What was your record descending speed, Adam?
132.9k an hour was my fastest I ever got.
Were you in contact with tarmac or just flying through the air at that point?
Luckily, I was in contact with tarmac, but yes, it was... yeah, you don't really think about it, though. I think when you're going down... It's like when you drive on the motorway. If everyone drives at 60 miles an hour, everyone drives at 60, but then if everyone started driving at 100, it wouldn't feel much faster because everyone's doing it. I think when you get over sort of 90k an hour, then it starts to get a little bit treacherous when you're on the bike. But yeah, I think everyone is quite comfortable. It's when you've got the super tight corners and some uneven tarmac, that's when it becomes quite tricky. But this descent looks fabulous.
And it's dry as well, which is an absolute blessing. We're just going to welcome back our wider Eurosport family. We've got a long descent, 18 kilometres, so 16 kilometres before we get Sean Kelly back. He's paid the bill apparently at the pizzeria, and he'll be with us before you know it. We were just discussing top speeds on descending. Adam was 123 point what?
No, 32.9.
132.9 kilometres per hour is his top descending speed. We're sort of nudging around 80, so this is quite modest. Where was that?
Sierra Nevada training camp.
Oh my goodness, right. And Cherie, your top speed on a descent?
Oh, nowhere near that. I was probably 53 kilos wet through, so I was a little bit more careful going downhill, but I think I probably saw about 90k an hour, and even then I was saying my prayers.
Yeah, well, not as many prayers as Sean Kelly was saying in retrospect, because I think his top speed was around about the 130 mark as well on descending, and he said that was in the days before helmets, which is just madness.
I've actually lied. I've just found the picture. I'll put it on social media. 136.9 it was.
Good Lord, so nearly 137. With a helmet, I hope.
Obviously with a helmet, always with a helmet.
Exactly, keep it sensible, kids. Yeah, the days of old, I asked Sean about it, and I'm sure it'll crop up deeper into the race. You kind of just got, before helmets were compulsory, and in fact just not really thought of. Some did, the old sausage helmets, and they were around on the track, and some used to take them onto the road, but it was very uncommon. And as you were saying, Adam, you kind of get lulled into a false sense of security, really. If everyone's going fast, you're just kind of sticking with it. You seem to be all going at the same pace. And it was only the wind in his hair, I think, that was any kind of indication as to how quickly they were going. And I guess riders used to constantly put themselves into more danger than we do today. I think far more awareness of safety, and helmets very much part of that, compulsory in fact, in racing, of course.
It is, yeah. Everyone should wear a helmet, and it's we've seen how bad the crashes are, and that little bit of protection on our heads, there's nowhere anywhere else apart from the DSM's kit that we've been speaking about. Yeah, that's all they really have for protection, so it is essential. It can save your life.
Well, Matt Schmidt took a headbang the other day, and his helmet saved him, but did tear his ear a bit. He's carrying a couple of stitches, and unfortunately today he was off the back very, very early on, Cherie. It was not a nice start for him.
No, and I have heard from the team that he has now abandoned, and so yeah, Mads wouldn't have given up without a fight, I can assure you. He's a solid rider, and he wouldn't have wanted to leave the team like this, but we wish him well in his recovery.
We certainly do. Mads Schmidt then, you've just heard it from Cherie Prudhomme, has withdrawn from the race. He was down in the dumps apart from anything else. He was full of remorse for, and that's too short you are now, Cherie.
Yes, and unfortunately it goes like that. We've not had much luck. We had the similar with crashes in the Tour de France, and hopefully our luck will change as a team. Hope
so. Cataford, of course, going out very early on in this race. We have a little interview to play you, and I didn't quite catch who it was who's coming up. Let's have a look.
You must be happy with your performance yesterday.
Yeah, it was better than the first uphill finish. I felt good. The team protected me well. Yeah.
Is it because the finish suited you, or is it because you have found the right form and now you are ready for going on the attack at every mountain stage?
Yeah, now I felt good all the time actually. On the first uphill finish I was a little bit running out of energy, so it was my mistake. And yesterday it was quite good for me with the crosswind also before. I like that stress. And we will see today, it's gonna be, I think, super hard also with the heat.
We understand that most of the pro riders know this area for training camps. How much do you know it? How much do you know the final climbs?
Yeah, I have been here also a couple of times, but I have never done the Alicante climb, so I'm looking forward to do it first time, but on the profile it looks super hard.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And some bad news, I think you've just seen. Hugh Carthy has abandoned, added to Magnus Court, and of course we already had Cataford had gone earlier on. It's not good news, guys.
No, it's really not, and I really feel for Hugh. I think this was one of his big targets of the year, and he had great form beforehand. And we were discussing in the show earlier that there must be something maybe wrong with Hugh. He might have had a sickness, he might have had a bug, and you know, we never hear this stuff from the teams just because you don't want the other teams to know and try and take advantage of that. And we saw Hugh yesterday especially just struggling on the flat there, so you have to feel for him. The team's obviously done all they can to look after him. Hugh's struggled on for as long as he can, but you know, when you come here to get on the podium and maybe try and win the Vuelta, and you get sick or you might have an injury, it's very, very hard for the rider to deal with. And, you know, speaking of picking the riders back up and looking after the riders, we spoke about in tour selection, this is one of the ones that the sports directors have to do. Sherry will know all about it, is just, you know, putting an arm around them and supporting them when they're at the lowest. Riders that are generally, you know, on cloud 9 and doing brilliant, they don't need that sort of arm around them, but it's the riders that are struggling, that's when they need the help, and that's when they need the care and the love, really.
It's true, Cherie, isn't it? You have to govern and indeed protect the different personalities, and some riders need more help than others. Quite clearly, though, Hugh Carthy not in a healthy place today. I think he was making a statement today, Cherie, at the beginning, maybe just testing himself as well to see how his legs were going. He had a flash of activity at the top, and then I'm afraid it's all over.
No, he obviously went in there to try and give it his best today, but something obviously is not quite right. He might have had a tummy bug, or might have had a bit of a cold coming into the race. You just don't know. He's obviously discussed it with his team, and the team have made the decision for Hugh to climb off.
These are the mountains we're playing with, and there's quite a few more still to be dealt with. We'll have Puerto El Colao is our next test, a category 2. We've got a couple of non-categorized climbs as well to deal with before we get to the Puerto de Tibi, and of course our big test at the end of the day, which is the Balcón Alicante, which we've never been to before. So despite the fact that the teams have very much logged in the test, Sepp Kuss is having a very good day today, and he'll move up the rankings as well as it stands. There's a few big movers that are happening for the time being with this gap. That'll change, I'm sure. Still not done with this descent. Just back to Hugh Carthy for a moment. We kind of forget in these days of COVID, where it's a very serious illness, that all the other bugs and troubles that we're used to almost within cycling, they haven't gone away, Adam.
They've not, and they won't be going anywhere for a long time.
Yes. The worst thing is, if you have got a tummy upset, you just can't get the nutrition in, and you basically fall foul of exhaustion.
You do, yeah. I think that's the thing, and ultimately, if in this weather as well, your body has to work a lot harder, your core temperature's a lot higher, and you know, just being able to put the power out you need to, you can't do it. And it's like anything, you know, if you've got a tummy bug at home, if you've got a stomach ache and you might be being sick in the night, it's then someone telling you to go and ride, you know, as hard as you can, or go for a run as hard as you can with that problem. You just wouldn't do it. You wouldn't leave the house. You just sit in bed and try and rest as well as you can until it had gone away. And these riders, you know, they have to deal with that and hopefully push through it as well they can. And Hugh has obviously tried to do that today, and, you know, not being able to recover as much as he needed to, and not being able to, you know, push on the pedals as much as he wanted to, and that's resulted in him, you know, stepping off the bike, sadly. And it's not a nice thing to see, and it's not a nice thing to have as well when you're in fantastic form, as I'm sure Hugh is. Well, he was. He's won a race recently, so yeah. But 3:42, Matteo Trentin back on the front after being distanced from that little acceleration. He's doing a stellar job at the minute.
Well, he's doing it for Jan Polans. Other very well-placed riders, Sepp Kuss, Jeff Bouchard we mentioned, who looks like he's a little bit fed up at the moment, and Jack Haig. What a leap forward that would be. I'm not quite sure, if you talk about the balance within a team, what that will do to Bahrain victorious if Jack Haig suddenly starts firing on all cylinders. Had a great Dauphiné, didn't he, Cherie? And a great performer, likely to be today.
Yes, and it's always great to have strength in numbers, just in case illness or injury occurs with a bike rider, and having the numbers up there, having a plan B is always a good strategy to have.
Well, Adam, you're about to take your leave from us. Let's just welcome back, before you go, let's just welcome back our wider Eurosport family, so you can give them a little wave. Welcome back, everybody. Medieval Rocket project on your screens right now. Don't have any notes on this place, but taking notes at the moment is Adam regarding Matteo Trentin. He's been so busy today, sacrificing himself, Adam. He's turned into this super lead-out, super domestique all-terrain vehicle.
And a rider that could no doubt win the World Championships this year as well. He's a phenomenal rider, and back when I did the Vuelta, he was winning stages. I think he won 4 stages, uphills, downhills, on the flat. He was in phenomenal form, and just a bit of a nuisance really how good he actually was that race. And he's just showing what he can do. You know, he's not just a lead out man, he's not just a sprinter, he's not just a classic rider, he can do everything. And to have a rider like this on your team, you know, each team wants a Matteo Trentin. He's like Wout van Aert almost. You know, he can just do everything, and he can do everything very, very well. He's one of the best in the business.
He's also, Adam, a very, very nice guy. He's one of those people who, he's a bit of an open book. He's always pleased to talk to journalists. I've never known him give anyone the cold shoulder, and seems to, you know, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed no matter what. He clearly loves what he does.
He does love it indeed, and yeah, he is an awful, horrible guy. It's a shame, really. No, he's not. He's a real gent, and he's a pleasure to race with as well. Very respectful, and I don't think anyone in the peloton would have a bad word to say about Matteo Trentin. He's a true gent. There
are riders out there. I'm not going to ask you to name them, but there are riders. One Portuguese in particular, who is really not liked. And I think it's probably due to the behaviour occasionally in breaks and the like, and basically forming alliances and ripping those up. You get those kind of personalities as well, like you do in all walks of life, Adam, and some people are best avoided, simple as that.
They are, and I mean, you know, this, you have to remember, this is sport. It's an elite sport, and there's a lot of money on the line, and you know, if you can take advantage of other riders. And it, just a side note, it looks like the riders in this peloton, the gap's going back out. We saw the 2 Jumbo-Visma riders talking there, and you can just see Egan Bernal, you've got Primož Roglic. They must have stopped for a nature break. Adam Yates at the car here, taking bidons on board. I think you've got Tom Pidcock just in front of him, so a little bit of a nature break at the minute for the general classification riders. And it's nice to see, you know, that when that happens, that they all sort of take that break together. They're not trying to one-up each other, and he's taking a week, let's get on the front. It's not a nice thing to do, so it happens a lot on these stages, but not normally with 55k's to go on a tough mountain stage when the red jersey is riding away from you.
Do you think, Cherie, that having almost patriarchal status, which Primož Roglic has, it has a calming effect on the whole peloton when you've got somebody like him just saying, look, I'm going to take a comfort break now, feel free to join me. He has great communications within the peloton, and also a great deal of respect. People generally like Primož Roglic, and it seems to calm the nerves of absolutely everybody when he's in charge.
Yes, it does. And you know, I think when a guy like Roglic, you know, wants a nature break, and it's an agreement between the riders, if it's not full gas, as we say, they generally respect each other, and will have a nature break together, or grab the musette bags together. But I would suspect now this gap's going out now. 4:10 it is. There's still another long climb going up through Rillau to Port El Coolio, I think it's pronounced, and I would suspect it will go out, and then we'll see the Jumbo taking control, maybe even Ineos taking some control on there, because like you say, it's getting now with inside 50k to go when we start climbing the second last climb.
Looks like a scene, Adam, from Close Encounters.
It's not the Derbyshire Dales, that duck.
No, a bit higher, but probably better food, frankly. Sorry, Derbyshire.
Nothing wrong with Derbyshire.
I know, it's my hacking ground as well. Just born near Bamford. So yeah, it's my playground. I think that's why I feel I'm allowed to have a dig. It's just gentle teasing with great affection. Wonderful. 54.3 kilometres then of the day. We are climbing again, and this is that sort of rolling terrain. We're going to come up to the intermediate sprint. Alan, before you go, who is your pick today, or more broadly speaking, do you think that the breakaway is going to make it today, and if so, who from within that break?
I'm not too sure at the minute. They've generally had not an easy ride, but Romain Bardet is obviously flying. You've got Trentin there. We saw an ease in pace here from the front of this group, and that's because Trentin has just stopped for a nature break. He's come back to the front, and he's no doubt about to get on the front, and everyone is happy to wait for him to do that. No one's trying to take advantage of that situation, but there's a lot of good rides in that group at the front. You've got Sivakov in there as well, who's obviously a very capable climber. Jack Haig in there as well, who's obviously... He was on flying form at the Tour de France and had a crash, sadly. So there's many riders out of that group, but the way it's looking at the minute, we've all seen the gaps come down so quickly before on these climbs when the peloton really want to chase. So it's difficult to tell at the minute, but it'll be interesting to see if, like Sherry said, if Ineos get on the front, if Movistar get on the front, but ultimately Jumbo-Visma now are on the back foot a little bit. With the red jersey, if they want to keep it or not, we do not know that. So it is going to be interesting to see who does start to pull on the front, if there's going to be attacks made from this red jersey group or not, or if they're happy with the situation, they're happy to let that red jersey go into the hands of someone else.
So what you're saying is you're not going to tell us?
I'm not going to tell you because I don't know the answer. Lawson Craddock as well, I can imagine him to do quite a long range attack. Izagirre, there's so many riders in this group that are capable of winning today's stage, but with a big group like this as well, when the attacks, if they eventually do start to happen, luckily for them, they've got Jan Pollangst in there who will set a hard tempo on the climbs and ride at a steady tempo. He won't be backwards and forwards, he'll ride at a tempo that he can hold his own tempo, and the other riders will stay with that and then try to benefit of trying to win the stage, whereas Mr. Pollangst won't be really too bothered about the stage. It'll be a nice bonus, but he'll just try and hold on to that advantage as long as he can, as we see Trentin back on the front again.
We've asked Adam Yates. Adam Yates, where did he come from? Adam Blythe.
Very.
Indeed. Quite far north of Derbyshire, to be honest. We have asked Adam to pick somebody from the break, and he's basically picked 10. That's the way he goes. I think that Jan Pollangst is going to have a dig, and I think Sepp Kuss will probably be given the duty of playing the marshal today, and we'll go out there and monitor him. Won't take any turns because he's got a great excuse about having Roglic behind him. This is the crystal ball that's out at the moment, and then Sepp Kuss comes through. You see, I am not embarrassed about putting my limited reputation on the line, probably because it's so limited. Are you going to pick one, Adam, as I have Sepp Kuss?
No, I'm not going to pick one, Carlton. Sorry. No, I'm going to pick...
I'm going to apportion you one then if you don't pick one.
I am going to pick... it's too difficult, but yeah, let's go for Jack Haig.
Good. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure having you company. You're going to be on the sofa. You need out to, I understand, disinfect the entire position so that Sean Kelly can jump back in.
I shall do. I'm just waiting for him to come in. I believe he's just finishing off. I think he's doing burpees right now. He's just finishing them off because he is an ultimate athlete. So he's just about to finish his 1,000th burpee, and then he'll be in, no doubt.
I thought you were insinuating that you were bringing his wind up so he could talk. Being a dad, as I know you are, and I am, we know all about that. Anyway, thanks, mate. I'll let you get on with swapping over with Sean. So, Shabi, who are you picking for today? You're not getting off that easily out of this. Do you think the break's going to make it? And if so, who?
If it does, I'm going to stick with Romain Bardet.
That's nice. What a story that would be. I'd love that to happen. I'm sure everyone would, wouldn't they?
Yeah, I think after the crash he had, the team's definitely come out there with a plan and some fire in their belly. So it'd be nice to see the wee Frenchman taking the victory today from the breakaway, but I think maybe the GC group have got other ideas.
I think you might be right. They're certainly relaxed enough, aren't they? Meanwhile, this is Chris Hamilton, just going back to the car, just stocking up. Let's have a listen. Oh, that was really sad. I was hoping we were going to get some little insight there, but the mics were turned off. I think teams, they don't like being eavesdropped upon, and I think that's possibly part of the form, really, is that if the cameras want to take pictures, they don't give away too many secrets, Cherie.
No, you just keep it code. Here's your bidon, here's your gel, off you go.
Don't forget to read the secret message which we've just wrapped around your gel. How do you pass messages? So, I mean, obviously with radio and the like, but verbally, you must be tempted. Is it just encouragement when you come to the window?
Yeah, it is just encouragement. I think sometimes when you want to give a little bit more clear strategy or, a race-winning move, you would drive up to the riders or a smaller group, not a big group like this, 30 riders, but if it's say 8-10 riders, you can go up and ask to speak to the rider, ask the rider to drop back and have a quiet word with him.
It's a busy day. It's not overly dramatic just for the time being. Considering the drama of the first climb, Cherie, it's settled itself down into a tempo at the moment. It's almost a holding pattern, isn't it?
There's definitely, I think a lot of riders will have some big sigh of relief in both groups, really, just to get a breather, because I think they know what's coming. This climb that they're going to be ascending now is it does bite near the top, and they'll have those final two climbs, particularly the last climb up to Alicante. They know that's going to come to the pointy end, and it's get down to business.
I think once we get to, now say this quietly, we're going to go through the intermediate sprint. We have to climb to a little plateau before we get there. In fact, we're nearly there now, and this is that plateau, so there's a little bit of pick up of pace. How much these green jersey points matter, we shall find out in a short while. You'd have thought before this day that the likes of Trentin would have been very much a part of the charge for it. But as it stands, let's see. And there is your intermediate sprint, and it just looks like he rolled through it and took those points off the front. Well, he's earned it, if indeed that's what's just happened. The camera just pulling away from us, unfortunately, there, Cherie.
Yeah, I would think it looked like Trentin took that. He certainly just rolled over, done it. They weren't competing for that. It was, just the way they rolled across the line there. Obviously, to have a sprint at the bottom of the climb is quite ideal, isn't it? So just the way it falls. But it looks like Trentin took that.
A little bit of impetus in need to get into our climb. And we're nearly there at the foot of it, despite the fact that we've been climbing for quite some time. I did say that it's a 17-kilometre climb with that sprint within it, but it is about to reveal itself. It's a Category 2 test. Now, say this quietly, but at the beginning of the day, I thought that this would be an attack point to try and get on with the rest of the day. Whether that is going to be the case or not, I do not know. Lots of messages, thankfully, held well and truly away from the riders after the catastrophe of the opening stages of the Tour de France, where a message to grandparents unfortunately had a big negative impact on the race, Cherie. Yeah,
it's always sad to see a big crash that affects many riders, many teams, and big ambitions, particularly in a Grand Tour. It's never nice to see.
Various banners being held up. I think one of the podcast boys was talking about one of the banners was just complaining about mobile phone signals in the great desert that we had. People complain about anything. I used to think that cycling was in danger of becoming a victim of complaints. We used to have lots of protests, which seem to have become something of a thing of the past, thank goodness. Yes, protests interrupting the race. Haven't seen that for quite a few seasons now, Cherie. It used to be a regular thing.
No, I can remember one when I first started watching bike riding. I can remember Bernardino and I can't remember the other rider's name, but yeah, he seemed to be either a farmer's protest or a rider protest or something. But I think things have calmed down since then.
Well, probably because Eno's response to the protesters was disappointing. Yes, he basically, I forget what the trades were, but they blocked the road, and Bernardino was so angry about it because he was on a flyer that he decided just to accelerate and crash into them, which is what happened, and then there was a fist fight. And it was pretty serious. But to me, the thing that gave me most amusement was just the faces of the protesters, who looked a bit half-hearted at the time with their banners, and then just thinking, he is going to stop, surely he's going to stop, he's not going to stop. And then we're not encouraging violence at all. But
no, not at all. I mean, those were the good old days. Now we have now we have internet, and
yes,
yeah, that keeps us busy.
Other areas as well to complain, I guess, which thankfully has stopped the races being interrupted. Here's your KOM classification. Haig on top with 10 points, having taken the Category 1 test at the beginning of the day. Taramé, Elisson, Kuss. Polance is now entering the frame, and Bardet as well, both on 6 apiece. But there is plenty of other points up for grabs, and don't forget 10 points at the end today as well. It's our uphill finish, and points along the way as well. Sean Kelly, are you with us?
Yes, I am, Carlton.
Good to have you back. How was your lunch?
Very nice. Well, I was happy, sitting in the peloton, and then Adam Blythe came in and he wanted to take over, setting the pace in the front. So I said, a long way to the finish. The race was starting to settle down. The big fight was over. What a big fight we had at the start.
Amazing.
To get into that breakaway and just breaks going away, coming back, and then we getting this small group of 6 riders getting away, then another group of 23 getting across, and we've had a pretty calming in the race, and not surprising because the way they raced in the earlier part, that first 50 kilometres or so, no way they could continue on doing that, because they'd be walking up the last climb if they continued all through the day.
Or crawling up. It is about to get brutal. Now, Sean, I've had the crystal ball out. I don't know whether it's going to work. It's a bit cloudy, but I reckon when we get over this Category 2 test, because we've got a 20 kilometre descent which takes us immediately to the Category 3 test, our penultimate climb, with only about 19 kilometres to go, once you've dealt with the descent, can we expect some action over the top here?
I think we will expect action, because we've seen here the way this big breakaway is going. Trentin is doing an unbelievable job here, and I think he's riding to make sure that he's in line for selection for the Italian squad for the World Championships. When you get to this time of year, in the big nations where they have so many riders wanting to go to the World Championships, he is doing a magnificent job. We can see they're going to be attacks, and it was going to happen at some point, because there's nobody contributing much here, and we did see that Trentin was riding all the time, and then Bardet started sprinting for the GPM points, and I think that's why we see Polance sprinting, because he said, you're not getting those points easy, you're doing nothing at all here in the breakaway, and then you come up and start taking the amount of classification points. So I think it was that reason we see that sprint there between him, and we have seen DSM has started to contribute a bit, from that point, a little bit before that, but they did nothing, and there's a lot of other teams doing nothing also.
There is, I think it's Chris Hamilton has just pushed off the front here. It had to be an attack point, and they're starting to rein in right now. And Sepp Kuss has got himself a mashed mech, and this is not going to right itself, I'm afraid. He's going to have to stop. That is a nasty thing to have happen to you at a moment such as this. Just as it's kicking off, all of a sudden a problem. Zivakov is with it as well. This is going to be a big push. Now, I thought it might happen just a little bit later, but certainly up and over the top. I was assuming around about 39 kilometres. But I had to shake up the old crystal ball. Yes, it's going to get testy. This might just be the first salvo, but if you get over the top of this, Cherie, suddenly we've got a 20 kilometre descent, and then you're into the last 2 climbs of the day with only 19 to go. It had to be now.
Oh, you can see already DSM trying to do the old 1-2, keep attacking. that's going to get particularly difficult for those riders that are suffering in that group. But it also could aid the chase behind. The more jumping about here, that time gap might come down a bit. So it just changes the whole concept of the race, but it's certainly going to start getting exciting now.
Certainly is. Once we get up and over the top, that 22-kilometre descent that we were talking about, they're on a little plateau at the moment, like a little step, if you will, before we actually get to the top. It's not such a threat, this climb, save for the fact that it does introduce the rest of the day, and it is categorised too. The most sterling part of it is in about 3 kilometres time. That's about 10.4, and I think that's what defines it as a category 2. But we've been climbing, Sean, well before the sprint. 17 kilometres of climbing if you include the sprint as well. That's no light climb at all, despite the inclines of an average of 4.7. There's lots of tests within it which have clearly worn the legs out, and poor old Sepp Kuss finds himself hobbled.
Yes, well, we see Sepp Kuss, he just dropped the chain there. Looked like maybe he was moving from the small ring onto the big ring, or vice versa, but not a major problem. No damage done to the bike, but he had to get off there. He was trying, big time to get it on when you're moving, and sometimes the riders manage to do that, but he just wasn't able to get the chain onto the inner chain ring and had to dismount. So wrong timing certainly, because it is kicking off. But yeah, this climb is a long one, and as we see in the big tours, like it's unfair really, because they say a climb is 10 kilometres, but you're climbing 10 kilometres before that, maybe not as a steep a gradient, and we see that in the Tour of France and Giro, all of those races. And today is another one where we see they've been climbing for a long time before they get the official board for the start of the climb.
Well, it's Michael Storer. I thought that DSM were working for him at the beginning of the day, and then we kind of recalibrated, didn't we, thinking that Romain Bardet would be the man. This could still be part of the softening up process for Romain Bardet to do his thing, but Storer it is that's pushed on just for the time being. He's offering up a back wheel, and it looks like Lawson Krellick's going to make it over. Krellick and Camargo, and EF Education would like to add to their victory yesterday by Magnus Cort Nielsen after Hugh Carthy has stepped off the bike. Unfortunately, it looks or it sounds like illness. I don't think there was a crash. Gorka Izagirre, one of the great names that should be able to sustain this, Sean, he's in trouble, and he is in good company. Plenty have struggled today.
Yes, well, today is a day where we might see surprises. The riders that they expect, to stay in the breakaway, not being able to do it, and for a reason or another, maybe a little bit of sickness, crash as well. We had, quite a number of riders came down that crash, and you could be, suffering from that, from the consequences of that. You're not showing any plasters, but you can have an injury. Another man, Kenny, losing the chain also here. What's happening?
I don't know. It's spreading. It's not good.
We need to get a few good mechanics in there. But yes,
sure.
But yes, it's an interesting one today, and today is a day where you could see surprises, all across the peloton. You could see riders that you'd be expecting to stay in the breakaway of the day without any problem. And when you start, calling who could win out of the breakaway, Izagirre is probably a one you put in there, but suddenly he seems to start getting into difficulty. And the same situation for the GC men. They have all been performing well, but this is an energy-sapping day, and that's what a big tour is about. Though we're only in the first week of it, today, the riders are going to ride for the final climb, very fatigued, energy will be at a low, and stay up where, the fittest and the ones who are on the top shape, the really top shape at the moment, they can make the bit of a difference.
Not only Gorka Izagirre looking like he was struggling, but Alex Aramburu as well. And I don't think it was part of a battle plan to drop back and offer up a back wheel, indeed, to their team principals. I just think they didn't have the energy today. Vlasov, of course, looked spectacular yesterday, but I thought Aramburu would go better, and certainly Izagirre, but it's not happened. So some cracks opening up in the armour of those out front. Kelly Alisson is 30 seconds off the back. Sepp Kuss, I think, recovered a little bit better. We're just about to collect here. Jonathan Lastro was part of the breakaway. Geoffrey Bouchard was with him as well for AG2R Citroën, and Arensman as well for DSM, who was one of the early breakers today, as many of them from DSM who've made it. Here we go. Pickup time pick up the cudgel, start issuing it, and why not? It's time to go. If you've got anything, Sean, it's now.
Yes, and we can see, Movistar are the ones who are kicking off here, and it's not surprising for Movistar. They do that so often, and it's nice to see, because we need something to happen here back in the main peloton, because it is, after going quiet for a long time now, and this will make it interesting. At 43 plus kilometers to go, 350, we will see now what will happen here, and will this advantage come down rapidly, because Movistar are the team who can do that, and Rojas is the one who was kicking off with Valverde in his wheel.
Carapaz has joined him, as well as Adam Yates, of course. Here he is, the gold helmet of Carapaz, his teammate with the red helmet and the slightly unzipped jersey, of course, is Adam Yates. Now, this is a big statement we've got going on right now. Valverde kicking off. If you look further back, you'll see no panic just yet from Primož Roglič. Not reaching out and trying to kick a bucket of sand over the fire just for the time being, but let us wait and see how dramatic this turns out to be. It had to be the action point, with such a big descent taking us to the last two tests. So essentially half the distance once we get to the top of the remainder of the day. We'll have 20 kilometres descending, a small climb with a 5 kilometre descent, and 9 to home. So it had to be now, and the ask has been made. Is this an answer from those who would try and eat into the advantage of Primož Roglič? From the Roglič group, this group, and it's a super group as well, Sean. They're pushing on, they've got power here. What's Roglic's response going to be?
Well, it's going to be an interesting one now, because we can see Valverde takes it up the moment that the man who set off the attack, Jose Rosas, was finished, and you can see also from UAE team we have David de la Cruz there, but Carapaz is the one who was pushing on with Yates. And this is an interesting one, because they cannot allow this one to get an advantage, and you can see is that Oman is on the front, I think, for Jumbo-Visma, closing it down. You have to close this one down very, very quickly.
Well, Carapaz knows that, and knows they're going to attempt to close it down, and he kicks on again, the Olympic champion, with the golden helmet and the bike to match. Oh, Valverde gets it very, very wrong. Oh, whoa, whoa, whoa.
Luckily, he got a gap in the barriers.
He is very fortunate, I believe, but let's not call it just yet, because you don't know what he may have hit. I hope he is okay. Valverde getting it very wrong, putting too much power in the back wheel. We said dust might be an issue on roads such as this, and suddenly Carapaz finds himself alone. I hope he is okay. It looked like a space in the barriers. Let indeed us hope and pray that that is the case, and you never know, do you? Oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. He looks about as good as you could hope for at a moment such as this. Just catching his breath. He'll be in shock, Sean. He's bloodied but unbowed, hopefully. My goodness.
Yes, but it looked like that's Jose Rosas is getting him back on, but it looked like he just got between the barriers. Maybe he got the very end there. We can see his collarbone feeling it there, his right, and you could see when he was trying to get back up on the bank that he wasn't able to pull himself back up. That tells that not looking good.
No, can't do it, says Owen. Look at the drop shoulder as well. I think that tells us what. I think it's where the barrier, that's what I was fearful of, Sean, where it bleeds into the terrain there at the end. I think that's what he caught.
Well, when you hit the deck like that, and he did hit it very hard, you come down on that on the shoulder, and that's where you do the collarbone. So maybe hit the barrier, but also when you smack on the road, well, you can do it. And that was a heavy one. You could see the way he just went down very heavily.
And Pale of Pallor as well, and this does not look great, I'm afraid, for Alejandro Valverde. Medic's there very, very quickly. Team as well. He's getting colour back in his cheeks, but I think that is done. The car's here, and it looks like, I'm afraid, race over for Alejandro. What a shame, Sean.
Yes, well, what a shame. And they were just starting to open up the road. We can see Vicente Garcia there with him, a rider who was
hole in the road.
Yes, he just
bang.
Yes, he just tried to did it well, but just tried to correct it, and the corner was too tight the moment he got that little bit of a shimmer and slided out on him, and down heavily.
It was a pothole, Sean. I don't know if you saw it. Not much bigger than a pack of butter. The hole that took him, destabilised him at a crucial moment, leaning in, and down he went. Oh dear. What a shame if he's not going to get back on the bike. He hasn't entered the car just yet. He's still thinking about it. But that looked heavy, Sean. Too heavy to go on for mere mortals. But I hope Valverde is going to be okay.
No, it doesn't look like. I don't think he's going to go on. He he knows that he has done the damage. You could see there with Rojas when he appeared. He just when he came to give him a hand up out of the Revan there, he knew that he had the damage done, and it looks like he's not going to get back on the bike. And here we go. They're starting to do the test, as they say.
It's not a nice test, Sean.
No.
We've both been there.
Yes, we've been there, and been there too many times.
Yeah, just flexing the collarbone. Oy, and this is a hard man, don't forget. And it looks like it's gone. Oh, well, don't like to dwell too much on this, but thankfully, in other regards, Sean, save for potentially the collarbone, he's okay. It could have been a lot worse, and for that we take a blessing.
Yes, well, it could have been, and as we see there, he just had the gap in the barriers. Otherwise, if it was barriered all the way around that corner, he could have got a very heavy smack off the barrier.
Oh, well, there you are, wake-up call. We constantly remind you how dangerous this can be, especially at the pace that the professionals take the day. But it looks like Alejandro Valverde may well be stepping off the bike. He's certainly in no hurry to get back on it at the moment, and he would be the first to swing his leg over the bike and re-engaged. It was possible. What a shame, but Movistar were just animating it for us as well, Sean. It's kind of knocked the stuffing out of them.
Yes, well, they continued on there. We see Miguel Angel Lopez starting to push on, and we're having a regrouping here. Roglic seemed to be, when we got back there from panning on Valverde, it looked like that Roglic had come across, so it looks that it's all back together in the main part of the peloton of favourites here. In the meantime, up front, we can see what you could expect here at the end of the stage when you get into that final 30-40 kilometres, attacking, looking at each other, waiting. There's so many riders here just waiting for 2.5 hours now just for this final, and see what the advantage will be. And the effort they're putting, a lot of them, they will be very strong here in this final 40 kilometres, and who's going to do the chasing to close it down? Movistar were the ones who are taking it up, but that's knocked on the head for the moment.
So Trentin's done his job. Looks like he's ceded the position, and fantastic job he has done as well, with the World Championships coming up and a big team with lots of choice. So Italy, I'm sure he's backed himself up for the Worlds rather nicely. It's Jan Polans who is still here and pushing on. As you can see, no sign of Trentin, so it looks like his job has been done, Sean.
Yes, well, it's not surprising. We did see in some of the previous climbs when they were pushing on at the top, he was getting dropped and getting back in again. But you can't do that, so many times, and then it's game over. And it's normal. He's been riding so many kilometres on the front there. He towed this breakaway along for kilometre after kilometre on his own without any help from any of the other teams, and he's done a tremendous ride here today.
So once we get over the top, 1,200 metres to go, I still think I now even more believe that it is going to be the breakaway that makes it home. They've got 3 minutes and 42. Now it's a long descent, Cherie, of 20 kilometres in total. By the time we get to the bottom and have our bounce, there's only going to be 19 left. It looks like the break's going to have some fun.
Yeah, it's certainly going to get interesting, and my heart goes out to Movistar there. I mean, clearly, when you see that one of your own riders or any rider he didn't go over the barriers, but it's never nice to see, and it does take a few minutes for your teammates to recollect themselves, and even the sports directors in the car, you know, to kind of think, well, where are we? We've just lost a star rider, potentially with looked like a collarbone injury there, so it does take a little bit of time to reset. So yeah, maybe this gives a little bit more of a breather and an opportunity for the breakaway out front.
I agree. As well, Cherie, it affects the riders around who've witnessed it, and it's sort of it appeared to me anyway that Richard Carapaz kind of lost heart. He couldn't really understand what was going on. He must have heard the crash behind him, and it's destabilising for everyone who witnesses it or indeed experiences it locally.
Yes, it does, and even as in opposition team, you know, the etiquette or the understanding that you have as riders is you don't generally attack, you know, or push on. You just sort of wait to see what's happened, and it takes a little bit of time for that information to get you know, to get to the riders. The other team cars will be, sports directors will be looking at the TV to say, you know, who's what, has my own riders gone down, you know. It takes just a little bit of a reset, change that chip to see where everything is on the road at that particular time. But yeah, it's not nice to see a rider go down, particularly on a descent like that, and that was certainly a nasty crash there for Valverde.
Sivakov has just changed the pace out front. He wants to be first over the top, and that little alteration has caused a little bit of worriment a little bit further back. Jack Haig's just picking it up for Bahrain, just trying to close into this gap. It's starting to open up and become significant. Grosshartner's done a good job for Bora there in the pale green. He's staying with it. Bardet doesn't want to miss out either. They're going to roll over the top here, and Bardet's looking for mountains points. I think Sivakov's thinking deeper into the day. Let's wait and see. Bardet is going to pick up, it looks like, this category 2 test right now, and now we engage in a descent, and it's a long one, Sean, all the way down to 19 kilometres from home.
Yes, it is a long one, and yeah, it will be welcomed by a lot of the riders here. You get a bit of you know, recovery time. If you're a rider who is sitting in the wheels, well, then you get carried along on the descent, and it's a time as well where you can, you know, get some drink, get some food down, your energy gel, whatever you need to do, and get ready for the big finale.
Lawson Kralik just a little bit further up. His teammates here, Camargo, just struggling to stay on for the time being. DSM have done a great job, but Martin Tuschfeldt's job, it looks like, is now over, and so it's become very selective on the descent. If you're good at descending, you're going to have a happy time. Nelson Oliveira and Carlos Verona, not sure if they're part of this group now. They may well have been just holding back, maybe to be bridged to by Valverde potentially. That now duty has been extinguished, at least for the time being. And here we are with the red jersey group of Primož Roglič and those who potentially would have had an option of bridging over to the breakaway. It looks like the heart's been knocked out of it, Cherie.
Yeah, it looks that way, Colton, and you know, unexpectedly, for what happened with Movistar there, and again, like I just said, it's a reset, and that gives that opportunity that for the breakaway, and the breakaway they will be getting information as well, you know, from the sports directors behind, from the teammates on the race radio, and they'll be looking for their own opportunities, and you know, you have to start believing at some point, you know, when you have sort of 3.5, 4 minutes, so they won't give up the fight, and certainly DSM are certainly playing that a strong game today.
Certainly are strong as well, I think. You'd have thought the challenge for Astana, it's ebbed a bit. This Aaron Burrows just being caught along with Fernando Barcelo, as you can see from Cofidis, who's reabsorbed within the group. And we'll be looking for a little bit of sustenance. He's wide-eyed and seeking a teammate to hand him a bottle as he drifts back, taking on board fluids and indeed gels, but the time gap's just moving back up towards the 4-minute mark. Sivakov, who was part of the push there, is with I beg your pardon, Carapaz was part of that move with Valverde, finds himself now back with teammates. Haven't seen Adam Yates for a little while, but I believe, oh, there he is, tucked inside. Landa here, all the big contenders, Sean, finding themselves together, and it looks like the party is going to be played out elsewhere.
Yes, unfortunately, the Movistar tactic was looking a good one, but with Valverde's crash there, that put the end to that. And now in the main group of contenders of red jersey, they seem to be looking at each other, as they're doing up front here also. You can see some want to push on, DSM want to continue on the pace, of course, and they were the team with many riders in the breakaway, and Bardet is the car they're going to play in the final. And that's the reason they're keeping the pace, at quite a strong pace. And it's 4 minutes at the moment. It looks like that is going to be between the breakaway now for to fight it out for stage win.
I was speculating at the beginning of the day Michael Storer might be a great pick for them. In fact, I thought he was going to be the most likely. But you can never discount great riders, of which we have to count Bardet. He's such a strong rider, and he's kind of refound himself. This is Chris Hamilton just making sure that he's up towards the pointy end as well, wants to be very much involved, just bounces onto the back wheel of Lawson Craddock from EF Education. Cherie, great riders seem to be able to dig extra deep for their resources when required, and Bardet certainly looks like one of those. Yeah,
and that's years and years of experience.
This is Valverde, by the way, who's just being pushed on.
It is indeed, yes. Like we say, you can't teach that. It's an experience that the strong riders, good riders, learn over years and years of and seasons of racing. With the help of their teammates, and it's something that you see in cycling as a very strong mindset, to overcome, as you can see with Valverde there, just the mindset to continue the bike race with an injury there.
Amazing, isn't it? And look at the group he's just about to get back onto. Sizable, it most certainly is, and real bravery. I hope he's okay. He's giving it his best shot to even just the possibility indeed of something good happening. Lawson Craddock just having a big old dig here, pushing on. He was out here with his teammate Camargo. Or am I looking a little bit further back? No, I believe I am. So here we are. It's our second chase group as detailed for you, but it's only because we've got a little bit of fracturing at the front. This is essentially the front of the race. 35.2 kilometres from home. We've got this long descent, and then we will bounce about 19. There's a few rises and falls within it, so don't think I've been fibbing to you. We'll have a couple of peaklets, but essentially it's all the way downhill to an altitude of about 400 metres, and that is that, by the looks of things, for Alejandro Valverde. He tried his best to stay involved, Sean, and this is a sad sight.
Yes, it is. Such a disappointing for him, and you could see there that he was in a lot of pain when he got back on the roadside, and you try, because when you get back on the bike, sometimes you get a couple of kilometres, and the pain, you don't feel it that much. But he tried there, and I think the pain in the collarbone, it could be a ligament tear as well, which can be very painful. But whatever we can see there, it's hugely disappointing for him. He's going to have to abandon this Vuelta.
I'm afraid so. This is that moment, and not one that we like to see. I've seen Valverde in stress many times before. I remember the rain in Dusseldorf as well at moments like this, and it's a tearful moment for a great competitor. And I think we should leave him to his moment, to be honest. Bless him.
It is such a disappointing at this point in your career. When you go out, it's a bigger one, because you haven't got many years left, and the way Valverde was performing, he seemed to be in excellent shape, and you can see there he's just on the shoulder of Vincenzi Garcia Costa, a director sportif that he's worked with for so many years. Real difficult time for him, and it's hard to look at this when you see this happening, and it just shows the bike riders how tough they are, because with that pain in the shoulder, you still get back on your bike and just give it a try, do a number of kilometres and see can you bear the pain. But it comes to a point where the pain is unbearable, and you just have to call it a day.
I would tip our hat to him. as you say, Sean, an impact and an injury such as that is magnified by the part of his career within which he finds himself. Bound to be the autumn. We thought it was going to be a spectacular autumnal display from him, but I'm afraid those colours are now muted. Meanwhile, Lawson Craddock decides that he's going to give it a go, and for that we are grateful. You constantly have to reset yourself emotionally in this game, Cherie.
Cool, yeah. Brings back. It's hard to watch that. You know, you feel quite emotional watching that. It's it's for any bike rider, but when it's one of your own, you do feel it. Sort of felt a lump in my throat there just watching that.
Me too.
And wish him all the best.
No shame in that, Cherie. 32.6 kilometres to go then. He's on a flyer. He's got 25 seconds. The likelihood of him making it home, I do not know. I do know that Sepp Kuss has got his chain sorted out, and he is here as well. So if you think this is all about Bardet, then think again. There's going to be some feisty battles going on up there, and it looks like this is re-engaged as well. Valverde not declared out of the race, but we know he is after those pictures, and we'll wait for the official confirmation in a short while. But a sad thing to report, to be honest, and indeed to witness. Going down very, very hard. It was these road surfaces are impeccable, and the one hole that I've seen in the whole road, Cherie, he found it.
Well, it might have been a blessing, because had he hit the railing, you know, Lord knows what would have happened. You know, it could have been a lot worse, and you know, it seemed just like the shoulder injury there for him, and hopefully nothing more than that, and a few weeks off the bike, and he'll be back riding his bike.
I think what thing is guaranteed, Sean, about Alejandro Valverde is that his life in cycling is going to extend for the full reach of his existence, because he's such a popular figure. He's going to end up being DS, or indeed playing the broadcast game. Who knows? He's always going to be around cycling, isn't he?
Yes, so I think he will be in cycling when he retires from the bike, and yeah, it's you could see the disappointment there, because, you know, end of season, your home tour, World Championships coming up as well, of course, and we know the way he can perform in the World Championships right through his career. He has been excellent, and so many times on the podium or just outside the podium, winning it also, of course. So, you know, it's a real difficult one to take, and when you're really going well and this happened, well, then it's a real killer. And, you know, you just, when you're there on the roadside trying to get back on your bike, and you try and you have to get off again, you know, there's all these motions going through your mind, difficult times, but, you know, you just have to, you know, you have to just get on with it, and a couple of weeks rest, and of course now with the time out, depending on what the damage he has done, because we have to wait and see on that, and the team will have to, you know, check it out. But if he has a broken collarbone or, you know, torn ligament, something like that, well, then it's season over, really.
Oh, we're just going to rejoin our friends from Linear. Welcome back. Lawson Craddock's gone out on a flyer. He's got a modest advantage for the time being. Romain Bardet, courtesy of the 5 points he picked up on that last climb, means that he now takes control of the King of the Mountains jersey competition. He leads by a solitary point, with still more points up for grabs out ahead of him, and his nearest rivals, well, Jack Haig is still in the frame, very much so. We still have a Category 3 test, which is 3, 2 and 1 points coming up. Carries bonus seconds as well, by the way, but they won't do too much to those who are in the break, unless Jan Pallant suddenly leaps out, who's the best placed of the breakaway at a minute 42 down. We have 10 points up for grabs at the end of the day on the Category 1 test as well, which will finish us on the Balcón de Alicante, which is a new climb for us. 10 kilometres remain of this descent, and despite the fact there's a little pickup here, it is largely a descent, as graphically revealed to us there by Lawson Craddock, who's riding the roller coaster here. He's built up half a minute, Sean. This is a goodly attempt at reaching out for a bit of glory. He's got a couple of chasers on his case, which is Pavel Sivakov and Michael Storer. Storer from DSM. being allowed his head. And I was mentioning that I thought that he would be a big pick today, and I thought it might be him instead of Bardet. With the temptation of mountains points up for grabs for Bardet, I'm wondering if Storer might have his head, but at the moment he's on chasing duties.
Yes, I think we can see within the DSM team, it looks like Bardet was the one they were riding for, and he was picking up, of course, the mountain points, but also that stage victory is what they're thinking about here, and I think it's going to be all hands on deck for Romain Bardet here, but there's a lot of other riders here waiting, and Craddock is he's trying to just steal it, get out in front, and he's hoping that there will be a lot of rivalry between the riders that are still in that breakaway, and they have been for a long time. So that's the thing to do if you know you're not a good climber, and Craddock wouldn't be up to the other riders, so you just you try and get out there, take the advantage, but we can see it's all changing. It's changing all the time here. There's just attacks coming back and changing again, and I think we will see this one again. There'll be other riders, I would think, coming across from that breakaway.
I've got a feeling that Storer's going to be allowed his head here. I know it's going to upset Bardet fans, of which we all are, but he looks so strong, and the way he rode in the Tour de Lane. That, of course, finished going uphill. Today we actually finished bizarrely on a downhill. There's a little peak over the top, and then a little sprint to the line, and it might well come to that. Craddock joining up with Sivakov and Storer out front. Gorka Izagirre just having a look at there'll be a rejigging, and one of the prongs of the trident, Cherie, has now, I'm afraid, been snapped off, and Valverde out of the race, but Miguel Angel Lopez and Enric Mas, they need to bury the hatchet that they apparently sharpen for each other, and start working together. I think Valverde's influence, I wouldn't be surprised if he has no more part of the race, even if he's in the bus holding Miguel Angel Lopez and Enric Mas apart, he'll have a part to play. Yeah,
no, they would have already worked out the tactic for the remainder of the stage for sure. They'd have settled down now and worked on the plan to see what they can do now on this final. What are we on now? The last 25-26k.
Yep, 2 more climbs still to come. The penultimate climb is the Puerto de Tibi. This has ramps of about 8% for a kilometre within the middle of it. 5.3% is an average over 5 kilometres, and they will bounce almost straight into it on the bottom of this, unless I'm lying. Let's just have a quick look. No, there is a very, very short kilometre and a half, 2 kilometres of flat, which make up the 17 kilometres of flat only on today's stage of 152 kilometres. It really is a tough ask, gliding beautifully through some of the curves here. It's an impeccable road, save for that pothole that Valverde found, which caused his crash. It's an amazing little thing. There it was, and he found it, and the back wheel went out, and away he went. Just not nice to witness, but don't mean to be mawkish at all by describing it, and let's just wish him the very best. 25.6 kilometres from home then. It's a 38-second gap that trio have got on the chasers. I guess it's who wants to engage. Sepp Kuss is here, Standard Wolf, Jay Vine, also one of the pre-race days riders to watch. Jack Haig, Gross Hartner looking strong, Jesus Harada up here too. It's looking like a familiar roster of talent behind. Patilli, Kron, Kras, Van Hoek, Verona. Yeah, I wonder if he'll be called back in time to just offer up a back wheel to Mas or Lopez if they decide to try and gap Roglic. Got to take the time whenever you can, Sean, if you can.
Yes, well, we did see yesterday on the short uphill how strong the Movistar guys were, and they're going to hit it again today on that final climb, because when you feel that you're a little bit stronger than the other riders, well, then you have to hit it when it's hot, as they say. And unfortunately Valverde going out, because we could see the tactic was just being put into play. Start attacking from quite a long way out, as we can see Valverde is out, unfortunately. So now it's going to be Mas and Miguel Angel Lopez, and they're in a real strong position in the GC standings, because Mas is at that 26 seconds, Lopez at 36, and Valverde, let's not forget, he was just down in 4th at 41, but that's that for now for Valverde. today. But yeah, I think they will try and do something on the final climb, but it looked like they were going to hit it from a longer way out with Valverde. We always talk about Movistar. Yeah, they have so many riders there, but I think yeah, Valverde was going to be the one, was going to try and upset the train being set here by the Jumbo-Visma riders, and they're doing an excellent job, you know, guessing and Omen. They're after doing a tremendous ride here. They've been on the front like for all day and controlling the breakaway. I know out in the breakaway we did see it was only Trentin was riding for a long time, but these guys, they are putting in a real big performance here, and that's what we said about the team of Jumbo-Visma. The last days, the short uphill finishes, they were losing contact very quickly, but when you come into this real mountains terrain, that's where they can perform and protect their leader.
Well, it's a question as well, I'm sure, of the DS is just steadying the nerves of everybody out here. It's looking after the leader is what Jumbo-Visma have got better and better at. Cherie, we used to talk about the fact that Roglic, we thought, wasn't as well protected as he might be, but the team really have gelled around him and brought him the success that he deserves, especially at this race, it seems.
Yeah, I mean, when you have riders of quality in Jumbo-Visma, they'll have a job to do. They'll know what their strategy is. They'll stick to that, and they'll support each other as well as they can. Clearly have their leader in mind, and I can't see much beyond Roglic in the coming days.
No, he's looking so strong, Sean. Almost an automatic response to any threat, and that threat is slightly diminished now with the absence of Valverde. He's getting stronger and stronger.
Well, he is looking strong, but today is the big day, you know, the longer climbs as well. That's where some of the other riders like Bernal could really come into their own. That's the terrain he likes, longer climbs. Yesterday's climb, that short one, you know, a big fight to get into it. Maybe not suited to be to the likes of Carapaz and Bernal, but we'll have to wait and see. Matt as well, Lopez, all of those riders, I think they would prefer the longer climbs, and we certainly have a long one at the end today after such a difficult day.
Well, neutral drinks being handed out to the trio up front, that's nice to see. Beautiful range this. We're just cruising over the Golden Mountains, the Quebeco d'Or mountain range. I don't know if they found gold up there in the hills. Indeed, that kind of terrain does offer up the odd nugget, and today, here's one for you. Virtual standings, Jack Haig leads Sepp Kuss overall by a margin of 10 seconds, and that's is that right? Because I thought Palance was still part of this group. Maybe he has been chopped off the back of it. Oh, there we are. That's more like it. General virtual, beg your pardon. Thank goodness for that. So there it is. Palance leads the race virtually. Grosshartner, Haig, Kuss and Roglic at 2 minutes and 2. So damage limitation going on potentially, Sean. It looks like the pace has picked up behind.
Yes, it has, and we can see again that the team of Jumbo-Visma are starting to up it here, and it looks like that they're very much in control. That's 22 kilometres to go. It doesn't sound a lot, but the terrain we have to get over, it is a difficult final here. But 4:42, it's going to be not that at the finish, but they will finish, I think, with the breakaway with some sort of an advantage, and I feel the stage should definitely come from the breakaway.
It certainly looks that way. But there's a gap at the moment with the trio up front. Lawson Kralik, Pavel Sivakov and Michael Storer have an advantage of 53 seconds. Just being trimmed back as the breakaway gets its instructions, I guess, as to how they're going to perform. What will be interesting to me is the role of Carlos Verona. It's the sort of day which would have opened up an opportunity for him, but he could well be a staging rider, a satellite rider, a staging point, if you like, for the Movistar boys, who now have re-engaged after the withdrawal of Alejandro Valverde. Rojas is here after helping his friend back up off the mountainside. Miguel Angel Lopez and Enric Mas. At the moment, they've got a magic carpet rider sitting in on Jumbo-Visma, who are indeed pushing on into this gap. We'll see if that gap diminishes. It's holding at 4 minutes and 47 at the moment. Just going to welcome back our wider Eurosport family in a few moments' time. Cherie, you're going to stay with us over this next peak. Will you be on the will you be on the sofa a little bit later on?
I will be, yes. I'm looking forward to dissecting this stage very much so with Orla and Adam, and I'm excited. I'm excited to see what happens. Can these three stay away?
It's great to have you on board. How many more days are you with us?
This is my last day actually on the Vuelta.
You didn't tell me that. That's a shame. Will we see you deeper in this race, or is that it?
I don't know.
Keep our fingers crossed, eh?
I'll be ready at the call.
Welcome back. Neutral Service has just handed out drinks, and it looks like a reinvigorated push going on at the moment. Michael Storer is here. He is part of a trio. He's got a great excuse. He can say to them, look, don't ask me to do work. I'm working for Roman Bardet. I think Storer will help himself. It's a great excuse to have up there. Pavel Sivakov, we'll see. He'll probably drop back and help Romain himself, but we wait. Sivakov is also there, and Lawson Craddock. That's a real fighting force of three up there, Sean. They'll have a small climb to deal with before a 5 kilometre descent, and then the last 9 kilometres, which will be a killer.
It will be. It's definitely going to be a very difficult final with that 8+ kilometres, and it is going to be a difficult one with the route they have been over today. This is going to be in the legs of the final climb up to the finish here, and who's going to be the strongest with the advantage of that 54 seconds for our three leaders out in front, but back in the rest of the breakaway there's a lot of really strong riders, and the final climb, if you come onto that a minute down, a minute and a half down, it's still possible to bridge across, so it's going to be an exciting final here. And 450 back to that red jersey. That has to be now that it will come out of the breakaway of the day, the stage winner.
I've got a feeling it might well come out of this trio as well. Let's wait and see. Storer does come to the front and offer up a turn to Sivakov and Craddock here. And fans, don't get too used to them, because you're not going to see any at the end. Oh, hello, and bye-bye, says Pavel Sivakov. Not happy with the work rate that's going on at the moment, and he's bidding for glory here. Now, don't forget, if you get over the top of this climb, and it's a short one, then you've got a 5 kilometre descent before you can potentially go solo. I guess you'd have to be brave, because the last 2.5 kilometres, 3.5 kilometres, I beg your pardon, are really nasty of the climb. We'll describe it in greater detail to you a little bit later on. That was a marker thrown down there, Sean, to say, look, we're all going to work together, or I'm going to work you over. It's a warning. Yes, well, Sivakov is definitely trying to walk them over here, and it's an interesting one. Craddock, we see he was at the rear there just Storer, sorry, just a moment ago. Is he trying to play the card? I have Bardet behind, I want to sit on here, I want an easy ride until the final climb, but Sivakov is not allowing him to rest at all, and we can see he's just holding at that 50 seconds, 55 seconds all the time, and now we're on to this climb, which is this 5.3 at a gradient, not too difficult, but still there are sections in it which are going to really test them out. Being quietly efficient, and we haven't really mentioned him at all, is Jay Vine within that group. The representation from Alpecin-Fenix are having a great race. They're in green, of course, with Jasper Philipsen. And keeping quiet, Cherie, is a masterful thing. We don't notice, and presumably some of the DSs won't notice either. And work rate, you can kind of get away with a lot if you're in a big group.
Yeah, it is. And sometimes when you haven't got ambitions on the GC, and you can sneak a rider in an opportunist move like today, you never know. He might have good legs, but we've got to get these three over the top of this. And and we'll have to see if he has got good legs.
Let's see. He does have very variable form, but we saw in Burgos and in Turkey that he can find a very, very top level very, very quickly. This is starting to shred. And this is Herrada of this group. You saw Camargo as well struggling. Jesus Herrada, it's his kind of terrain, but so many questions have been asked throughout the entire day. I'm afraid he just doesn't seem to have the answer. Does this man? Well, it would be a spectacular performance, and why not, by Pavel Sivakov. He, of course, coming into Ineos Grenadiers a long time ago, in fact, in the first incarnations as Team Sky. He's very much been part of the forward thinking, the forward planning, if you like. Still only 24 years of age, and he's had some very, very good runs. He was 4th overall in Burgos, don't forget, which was just kind of like the entree for this race. And we're seeing some very, very good riders really starting to struggle. And Jan Polance, it's not going to be his day, no matter what Trentin did for him, Sean.
Well, I think the tactic of the team, UAE, Team Emirates, it was one which I was questioning, because when we see Trentin, riding like that and nobody else contributing, certainly was always going to be a difficult one. And Polance, on his own there in the end, he was going to have difficulty trying to mark the others, and we can see he's not even getting into that point now where he's going to have to fight it out and stay with the other men who are close to him in the GC standings. It looks like that he's also run out of power.
Certainly looks that way, and in a certain way that's going to diminish the worry of the likes of Roglic. And so I wonder if Sepp Kuss is going to have his fun and impose himself today. If it's going to go to anybody, then why not to a teammate? They've got Jack Haig to worry about as well. He's 3 minutes and 6 down overall. And Felix Grosshartner, let's not forget, of Bora. Again, somebody else who's been quietly very, very efficient. We'll see how it pans out, and indeed how that group does break down. It's already started. 3.5 kilometres before we get to the top of this climb, and we're just about to be on the most difficult section of it. As we look at the Castilla de Torre Grossa. Is that the big bull? I'm not quite sure. Maybe that's what it's supposed to look like from down below, but it's one of those modern creations that I'm really not sure. Maybe in certain light, Sean, it looks like a golden bull, but not to my eyes.
Oh, not to me. Maybe we're all getting tired with such a long day here on the saddle, and
what do you mean? You
looking at our screens. I have been looking at the screens while I was having my sandwich, Carlton.
While you were chewing?
Yes. I was chewing away there while the race was going on.
Well, I've loved chewing the cud up here. It's been a great day. I mean, what a day to have a full coverage for you. Flag to line. We've kind of been spoilt with that over the recent years. Cycling like never before, Cherie. We've got loads of it. It's great.
Oh, isn't it amazing? Especially in the difficult times of with the pandemic, and it's just been amazing to see coverage from 0 kilometre right till the finish, day in, day out, particularly with the Giro and the Tour de France, and then of course today. And it just really does show our sport, doesn't it, to the wider viewer, and just how challenging and how special the cycling world and the sport is that we're involved in.
Absolutely. Eurosport GCN at your service. Wonderful. 16.8 kilometres to go then. We're going to get over this crest, and then unfortunately we're going to have to say goodbye to Cherie Pridham, who has been fantastic as our guest. And in fact it's your last day, Cherie.
It is, yes. Sadly for the Vuelta, and I've really enjoyed my time with the Eurosport GCN family here the last 3 days, and it's been a privilege and an honour to share my views with you all.
Oh, it's great to have you along, and I hope it's not long before we enjoy your good company again. It's a long goodbye. You're not off duty yet. We've got to get over this test, and let's hope that they come down cleanly off it, because it's quite a technical descent again, which will introduce us to our final climb. 21 seconds is the gap. 2.7 kilometres until we get to the top. In terms of mountains points, they're going to hoover them all up and I don't think any of those up front are particularly bothered at this point anyway by those mountains points. What about this, Sean? Great work by Jumbo-Visma, but 5 minutes and 7 they're giving away to those out front, and 20 seconds shy of that by the main body of the breakaway, which looks like it's reconfiguring.
Yes, well, we can see they're still totally in control here, and guessing is still driving it on the front here with Sam Oomen in his wheel. We can see Stefan Kreiswick is talking with Primož Roglič there. And I presume they're just discussing what to do here, exactly how fast they want to ride. Does he have to ride or wait for the final climb? All of that is going on now, and with the break out in front of the guys who are up there, I don't think they were majorly concerned about them, because they could allow to offload the jersey once again today and get that pressure off. But we can see here in front the advantage 16 seconds as Sivakov has dropped his chain again. Another rider
chucked the chain, and Stora just heads off. Krellick said, no way, you didn't give me a turn, I'm not giving you one. I may well have you. Just as he's... Oh, what a shame, Cherie.
Oh, yeah. Look at that. Just as the attack was going. Oh, dear.
He's coming back. He's angry. He might well use the adrenaline of that. Michael Stora proving they've still got something left in the bank here, and he may well have been feigning that he was spent a little bit earlier on. Right now he looks like he may well have his fun, and away he goes. I think Stora might get a free hand here if he got a chance of the stage win. They're not going to suddenly double down on Romain Bardet, I don't think. Bardet will be in the polka dot jersey at the end of the day, but I think the bets may well shift to Stora. What do you think, Sean?
Well, I think they decided to change, I reckon, because they were riding a lot in the earlier part, but with so many riders here not contributing at all, they decided, well, then for Romain Bardet it's going to be difficult in the end if he finds himself in the final with a lot of other riders. There's going to be a lot of attacking, and of course if you're with Bardet, a climb like this of 8 or 9 kilometres to the finish, everybody's going to say, well, if I take him to the final climb, he is going to just ride away from me if he's in the form that he needs to be. So it was always going to be a tactical one, but you can see Storer here, he's just pushing on here, and Bardet in the meantime, he's getting an easy ride behind because the others have to chase now, and so it's a tactic to work. Use your men, send a man out front, but we can see Sivakov, he is really good and not happy at all, but he tried to move from the small ring into the big ring with full power on. You cannot do that. You have to just knock it off the power a little bit, get it up on the big ring and then go on again, but he just slammed it up, and the chain seemed to get tangled or come off. I'm not sure exactly what the problem was.
He's giving out, Sean. I don't know what oath he issued there, Sivakov.
Well, we all do in a case like that. You give out like hell when you get back to the guys, and it just gives you that relief to get.
Oh dear! It's a relief to be able to have a chuckle today after the Valverde incident. Hope he's going to be okay. Sivakov has come up here and he's not happy, Cherie, at all.
No, he's a man on a mission. I don't know whether he was yelling at Storer there to keep pushing on, or yelling at him because he dropped his chain. But he's still having a go. Look at him. I don't know.
If you think I'm going to give you a turn, you can think again. And he comes through and he's still.
Oh.
I don't know. It's a eulogy, Sean.
Yeah, it's hard to know what is going on here, but certainly there's a good discussion going on, and the Storer, we could see there the way he was riding, and with Craddock, he just kept on putting in these sucker punches and put Craddock in difficulty. The way you have to ride here is ride at a real strong pace, and keep the other rider with you, and hopefully he will be able to give you a turn, because in the final 15-20 kilometres it's so important that you have a rider that can give you a little bit of a breather, and you only need a couple 100 metres, 150 metres. It's amazing the difference that can make, but when you have to ride in the front on your own, and now we can see that Sivakov is back with with him, and he is going to continue on riding. And Storer, he's still looking good, and 33 seconds. It looked like it was all back together there. It was less than that a time ago, but they pulled out once again on this rest of the breakaway companions.
Sepp Kuss getting magic carpet ride here. Jay Vine went to the front, had a look around, like who wants to come and join the fun. Jack Haig said, all right, I'll give you a go. Here is Sepp Kuss just stretching his legs. They're only half a minute down on the duo up front. They'll collect Craddock, I imagine, along the way. This is a handy group. Still not quite to the top of this test. 100 and so metres to go, and they can't decide, and so somebody decides to have a go themselves. I don't know whether it was Sepp Kuss or indeed Andy Cron who's just gone off. I suspect Cron. Let's wait and see. Oh gosh, no way. That camera needs to get its stabiliser on. You can just see Craddock up and over the top, so no points available at all for Andy Cron. It is him that's gone off the front. I thought it had to be, and away he goes. Andy Cron again, somebody else, the Dane, could keep it Danish, not just for breakfast. Fantastic, Cherie, got another chance here, another iron in the fire, Denmark.
Yeah, it looks like it. They're certainly coming up with some very good young up-and-coming riders, and it's great to see.
It is fantastic. Thanks so much for your company,
My
Cherie.
pleasure.
We shall
My
miss you. It's been great to have you on board, and of course you will be on the sofa a little bit later on to deconstruct what has been a very, very busy day. So
I will indeed, yes.
Lovely. Thanks ever so much. We'll see you soon. 12.7 kilometres to go. The race is on. Is it going to be a duo or more hands to the pump? Storer versus Sivakov is how it pans out at the moment, but it's a tenuous 26-second gap, and you feel that there are those that are better rested out of the breakaway. It was such a big breakaway, Sean. There was some hiding places for some. They need to reveal themselves soon.
Well, I think there's time left, because over 5 minutes back to the main peloton of race leader. 12 kilometres to go. 26 seconds of difference between our leaders on the road and the rest of the breakaway. With this climb, it is going to shake up a lot of the riders here challenging for the stage victory. So it'll depend now how strong the riders in the front are. Storer and Sivakov. Craddock is in between, of course, and then the rest of that breakaway. And we have some, big firepower there in that group is chasing here our two leaders on the road.
So this descent will unwind with around about 9 to go. That's the full distance of the climb. The climb's about 8.6, I think it's defined as. So they are heading for the base of it. The Balcón de Alicante. It's a new climb. Not many of the riders familiar with it, and as you can see, there's a big old padded section there that is there for a very good reason, but the pads themselves can cause a little bit of havoc because they're quite thick. The last thing you need to do is catch one of those as you're heading round. This is how it stands at the moment, this group of pursuers, and it's thinned down a little bit. We've lost De Wolf, Camargo, Petilli, Tuschfeldt and Jan Polans, which is a surprise, off the back. Polans just almost whipped by his own teammate Matteo Trentin, who looked like had he ridden slightly differently, he might have had a different day even himself. Storer and Sivakov out front then with a 27-second advantage over the chasers. They are Sepp Kuss, Jay Vine, Jack Haig, Felix Grosshartner, Jesus Harada back in. He had a terrible time early on. If he is still there, not sure about that. Lawson Craddock is now part of that group. Andy Cron, Sepp Kuss, Carlos Verona still for Movistar. Not going to get called on other duties by the looks of it in the gaps, so Verona will have his head. And will he use it? 27 seconds. There's going to be some coming over, and it's Craddock again. He's picked it back up. Just shows you can't keep a good man down, and they're starting to reach out. Jay Vine wants another go, but it's not him. He's at the back here of this quartet now that's suddenly been left in the wake. Who's bridging over? Bardet was still part of this group. Is he going off and up? Let's see. Here's Sepp Kuss. as part of this group. That is Verona, who's just skittled away. Kuss has gone after him. So what was the response of Romain Bardet? I think he may well have engaged in the chase. We'll see. Kuss has decided to go with Verona by the looks of things. We've got a real battle raging, and Craddock has managed to bridge over here with 9.8 kilometres to go. What a day we have had. 5 minutes and 12 back to Roglic. So it will be the breakaway success, 2 in a row. And will it be 2 in a row for EF Education? They're in the frame again, Sean.
Yes, we can see there that Craddock has made it back in again, and he's going to hit on the descent there, but 13 seconds, and we can see the way they're attacking from behind here. What's left of the breakaway now, and it's a very select group. When you look at the riders are in there, yeah, it's a very difficult one to call. Will the leaders on the road be able to hold on all the way, or will it be the rest of the breakaway which are left chasing them at the 13 seconds? I think it's the latter, because there's some of the riders here, they've been waiting. Grosshartner, of course. Bardet, if he's back to his best, well, then he's going to be a problem. But Sivakov, very impressive here, the way he's attacking. When the road kicks up to a steep gradient, he looks to be the strongest one, and again Craddock in difficulty. Well,
if he can just keep his chain on the ring, he'll be fine. Not Craddock, I understand. But Sivakov, he looks like the driving force here. Michael Storer still in very combative mood. There's no love lost between these two. I'm not sure there'll be a handshake at the line, Sean, if they do cross 1 and 2, this pair.
Well, I don't think they will cross 1 and 2. I'd be surprised if they stay together, and I think Sivakov is going to give it a go, but the advantage, it's a very slim one, 19 seconds at the moment, but Sivakov is a rider. We're expecting a lot of him on the last number of years. He haven't produced, of course, crashes. Remember last year he crashed in the very early part of the Tour of France. This year in the Giro as well, in the first week he went out, so he hasn't had the opportunity to be in there for long enough, but winning the Tour l'Avenir, which is the amateur Tour of France, and when you win that, it's a one that they start talking about. He's a potential 3-week Tour rider, and he's got that talent, but haven't got the opportunity, I suppose, to really show himself up till now.
Beware the Danes, they used to say in ancient times. And we've got Kron coming, and look at this as well. Verona it is, that doesn't want any company. Doesn't want Grosshartner, that's for sure. Grosshartner zigzagging. Looks like he hasn't got the will or indeed the resources to chase after Carlos Verona, who set off after these guys. Oh, just taking an impromptu feed is Michael Storer here, and he's got company. He knows as well. Nope. Go and a bit of special issued to the side of the road. That was almost a statement.
Storer he looks so nervous here. He's looking around, and there's still 8.1 kilometres of a climb here, and you just keep on tapping away at it, and you try and get Sivakov to do more of the work if possible, or certainly get him to do the same amount, and just continue on here and get the kilometres by, and you have a very slim lead as well, so you have to walk to your maximum, the 2 men out in front, but he looks hyper nervous.
Yep, no, I'm not going to turn. Oh, there's mind games going on here. It's fantastic. Their problem, and I don't think they perhaps even realise it, is that Verona's coming over. And, oh, look at this. Forces mustered as well, and Movistar have decided that they want to find a bit of a gap here, Sean, and why not?
Astana,
beg your pardon.
Yes, we can see Luis Leon Sanchez here starting to push on. Adam Buru and also there, Izagiri, Sivakov there in the wheel, so they're going to start pushing it on this climb, and this is the one now, if they can really keep 2 or 3 riders there, push on for a number of kilometres, that will really blow this group of the big favourites apart, and will be some of the main favourites get into difficulty, depending what Astana Prima Tech can do here. If they can really set an infernal pace for 3-4 kilometres, that will cause a lot of damage on that final climb.
See what Vlasov has to do here. He's looked at it in impeccable form. Oh, they've got company, and they're not going to like this at all. Have they given each other a Chinese burn, they used to call it, didn't they?
What is that?
Schoolboy torture, Sean. It was...
well, that's a torture in bike racing.
Yes, exactly. Plenty of that. But it looks like their schoolboy games, I mean, have not had much of an impact. It didn't hurt that much back in the day. Let's see, Kralek and Kron are coming over here, and I'm afraid that this is going to spell bad news for, I beg your pardon, Kron and indeed Verona. Verona is a very, very important cog within Movistar, and I don't think he was part of the battle plan. I think he was a satellite rider to be used later. Now that they've been wounded, essentially, Movistar, with Valverde's exit, I think Verona's going to get his head, and at moments like this, he can thrive.
Yes, well, certainly can, and another rider, we haven't seen him at all during the day. He was just one of these riders that was hiding, waiting, and now we're on this final climb. But again, you make that effort to come across, and Verona and Kron, they made a big effort to get out of that group, which was a highly talented group, what was left of it, and they've managed to get away from the other guys. How much have they given here to come across? I know the gap was only that 15 seconds, but at this point in the race it can leave its mark, and will there be some of the guys who were in the front, Sivakov and Stora, will they be stronger in the end? But just under 7 kilometres, a long road to go.
Just behind as well, Sepp Kuss, Jay Vine, Jack Haig, Grosshartner, Craddock, Kras, Bardet, still very much wrestling with it. A few others from the breakaway, I'm afraid, have now ebbed as they have flowed. Danny Navarro struggling here. When you start to see the likes of Navarro and Biscara as well from Euskaltel in the orange, just having a bit of a tough time, you realise how hard it's been. Carmajan, I'm afraid, not in a happy place. A few others to conjure with. James Piccoli coming through, the Canadian. Would have had some hopes for today, along with Guy Niv and Beric for Israel Startup Nation. Didn't quite happen for them, I'm afraid. Others as well. Capeda not in a good place for Kaharo Rao. They started the day with a few ambitions. Likewise, it's been a tough day, Sean. We've got a flattish day tomorrow with a few rollers, but the peaks of this day, and so many, it's been up or down emotionally apart from anything else for quite a few. And here's your big pickup at the front. Well, we said beware Carlos Verona, and he has gone for it. The man who's staying with him is Stora. The man who's suffering and is on the rack is Sivakov. Something of a surprise perhaps. Well, this just the opening ramps of our climb, Sean. 5.7 kilometres to go. There's a little downhill section, actually, bizarrely, before a couple of them within the climb, but it's the last 3.5 kilometres where you have to watch out. They're on that roller at the moment before we get to the big test.
Yes, and we can see there Verona putting in a big attack, and Sivakov, he's starting just to grind his way back, and that's the style of rider Pavel Sivakov is. He's not explosive, and you can see there he's going to just get back to the two in front again, and you can see the damage back in the main peloton of the red jersey, the way they're just going out the rear door. Amazing. We see Kalmajan there, he's very much up in the general classification. He came into today in 8th position, only over a minute down, and he's already in difficulty on this climb. We see Mike also, I think he was looking in difficulty, so a lot of riders that you would expect to be able to hang on in that main group of favourites getting into difficulty in the very early kilometres of this final climb.
Well, I've got fans down here. We were expecting them to dissipate. I don't know whether they've changed their mind and allowed them on course. They certainly are down at the bottom, but it was the fear of fire, I believe. Barbecues and the like, or indeed dropped cigarettes, terrible things, that may well cause some problems. So the fans are at least here. Will they be at the very top of this mountain? We shall wait and see. And through they come. And Carlos Verona almost having a spray drink here. Andy Kron's got back in, along with Michael Stora. And indeed Pavel Sivakov. It looks like it's going to be between those four. 5 kilometres is still a long way, however. Still don't know what the gap is back to this group. We're hearing about 35-40 seconds. They look very tired, Sean, and every time we've seen somebody just try and break away, save, of course, for Carlos Verona, who left him in the wake. There was a few that tried to follow and didn't make it. Cron did.
He did, and we can see there Polance is back in. He's in that group, so yeah, he's recovered quite well. And yeah, you can see there the way they're looking at each other. Nobody wants to ride. Everybody is worth waiting and expecting the other one to do the pulling here. And in the meantime, up front, they are still pushing on. And the interesting one is you can see the road here. You know, it becomes very narrow in the early part of the climb. We can see the cars, are in between. That tells that the advantage here for our 4 leaders is quite a big one back to the rest of the breakaway.
It will be a headwind for them at the very end. There's a few twists and turns, the last 2 kilometres in fact, as they ply their trade up to the top of this mount. There's a lot of twists and turns before we actually do get to the top. At the moment it's a side wind, and it will be until we get to the 2 kilometre mark, where we take a long left-hander. The road really does start to wiggle about like an overcooked piece of spaghetti dropped on the floor. We will describe it to you in the twists and turns the closer we get. But essentially, up until just around the Flamme Rouge, to about 800 metres, there's a nasty turn just to introduce us to the Flamme Rouge. And then we will have, bizarrely, a little descent down to the line, Shauna, a quick pace. So we've seen that before.
Yes, well, I think it's all going to be on the climb on this steep section where it kicks up to a huge gradient of 14%, and that's where I think the difference will be made in this final, because they continue on to attack each other here, and yeah, there's definitely going to be someone with a little bit more power, energy to push on here, and Verona seems to be the one for the moment is very active.
How's he going to get caught? Well, Stora looks like the man who's setting his stall out at the moment to try and get back to him. Balcón de Alicante. This will be, of course, for Valverde and the rest of the team. Carlos Verona is going to take a famous win by if he possibly can, I should say, because by the looks of things, he's got a real struggle on his hands. It's struggling, unfortunately, here. Andy Cron has been left behind just as the most punishing inclines start to reveal themselves. We're talking 9% at the moment. It'll kick up to 10 and 14 before the end. I don't know how much Verona knows about it, but he's going to know all about Michael Stora in a short while, and Pavel Sivakov. They both have not given up the ghost at all. It's all very well being explosive, Sean, but sometimes when it's a constant punishment like this, even over a short distance, a diesel can help. And let's see what Sivakov can do. He's not out of this game yet, despite the fact it looks like a 2-horse race on your screens at the moment.
Yes, well, you climb the, when you're in a final like this out of a breakaway after a very difficult day, you just climb to your preference, and sometimes that might mean you can put in these sudden accelerations, then take it back a bit, another one, and you really put the other riders in difficulty if you can do that. Other riders like to climb at just a steady pace, just keep on grinding it there, and they can do that at a steady, strong pace all the time for kilometre after kilometre. And we can see Verona seems to be the more punchy one, but will he be able to keep it? Now again, it's changing all the time at the front here.
There's your answer, Sean. Michael Stora goes again. Sivakov just doing his own thing at the moment, but out of the saddle. And just look at the pace that these guys are racing into the final difficult test. And this is about Roglic just maintaining control, quite frankly. Of those out front, the quartet, there is no worry for the overall. But Jan Palance getting back in is all of a sudden a big concern. It looked like he was spent, Sean, but he's back in that group, and he looks like he may well be the leader at the end of the day if he manages to hold on.
Yes, well, it depends on how he's recovered, because he looked to be in difficulty on the previous climb very early on, and on this one, if you're at the end of your energies and you have to make a big effort to get back in to that the leading part of the breakaway, well, then you can pay big time. And we'll have to see now when we go back to the chasers here behind our 3 leaders what the situation is.
Here is Roglic himself with Carapaz on his back wheel. Bernal also in the frame here, and you look further back and a lot of the other principals, and Stora is setting his saw out right now. Looking behind him, he's just screening our view for the time being, and I think you'll find Sivakov and possibly Verona And here they are together. Verona sitting in, and indeed yet again Sivakov has been attacked. This time it was by Verona, but it just kept his own pace. But Stora looks impeccable at the moment. He's got a margin of 15 seconds, and we're on part of the toughest section of the course. He's looking good for it, Sean. He started the day amongst the favourites to take it. He's riding like one.
Yes, he is looking good, and he's putting out a nice advantage here, because we can see back down Sivakov is the next one, but on this sort of a gradient, there is quite a number of seconds there between the two riders on the road. So yeah, it's amazing the way it can change. Looked like Sivakov was the strongest one, 15-20 kilometres out, but now it's Stora has the one, seems to have that bit more energy. And again, the style of the riders is difficult to know from, because some riders look like they're having difficulty the style of riding. Other ones looks to be quite smooth, but they can be also in difficulty because that is their normal style of riding. They look comfortable, but actually they're not.
Well, Stora did a great job. He essentially carried Roman Bardet to the top of the Picon Blanco. And payback, I guess, is that he is going to be allowed his head. Thought it may well be the case, and so it is proving at the moment. Roman Bardet's done a great job today. He's still had a very, very good day, but it looks like none better than Michael Stora today. What a performance by the 24-year-old Aussie from Perth, doing an amazing job. We saw his credentials on display in the Tour de Lane, absolutely brilliant, and took a stage within that, and indeed the entire race. And it's amazing what good form such as that and how it can carry. That wasn't that long ago, don't forget. It was just the end of July, and he's carried the form beautifully, Sean, by the looks of him.
Yes, well, when you have somebody that is in form in the last 4 or 5 weeks, normally they can carry it, and it's certainly the case for Stora here, because he has put in a big day. As you said, he was doing a lot of the pulling, the pace setting on the climbs for the team leader Roman Bardet, and then he finds himself out in front and proving to be the strongest. And you can see 20 seconds over Sivakov here, who is continuing on to work at it, but we're getting ever so close. 2 kilometres, just over 2 kilometres to finish, 21 seconds. If Stora can keep it as he has been in the past 2 or 3 kilometres, then he should be able to hold on.
10% is the gradient that this chasing pair are doing at the moment, but Stora is on the newly laid asphalt, as you can see. They've tidied this road up. Thank heaven it's not raining, and he's on the toughest percentage of the finale. 13 and 14% is what he's dealing with. He looks good for it for the time being, Sean. I hope he doesn't go pop. It looks like indeed he'll be popping champagne corks at the end of today if it stays like this.
Yes, it looks like that, but again, we can see there he's just up ahead, and the riders still have him in view, but this section, the gradient is a real killer here, and everybody is on the limit here. You just have to dig deep, and it's all about how much energy you've left. If you've still got a bit of energy left, you can continue on pushing, but if you're starting to run out big time, then it's a real killer here. And for DSM, like, if they can get the stage victory, this will be a big one for them, because this season hasn't been a good one for them.
Nearly came to a standstill in the corner, Sean, and that's a cruel one, these hairpins. It does start to ease for him just a little bit now. I think he's done the most difficult part of the climb. It's still not quite ebbing. It's down to about 8.5%, but he's got there by the looks of things. And Verona it is that's chasing onto him just for the time being, with Sivakov still struggling. This is that 14% section. Sivakov still mightily talented and determined. Verona looks good for that gap, and so does Stora just for now. Security car tucked in behind him, but this man is just about to reach the plateau, and then it kicks again bizarrely. He's got to go back up to 11% before it gets over the top. That's not over yet, Sean, even at the front. 21 seconds. Verona's just closing the gap ever so slightly on Stora, as that punishing incline is about to be introduced to those further down the mountain.
Yes, well, we can see here the big favourites, and my apologies, Mike, I did say he was in a bit of difficulty, but looks like he's recovered well, and we can see him here on the left-hand side of our picture, and pretty much all the big favourites in view here, and not surprising, because this final is going to be a real difficult one for them. We've seen the way Stora there in the corner. He almost came to a standstill, as you said. That just tells the gradient, and this is just a grind up here for all the three men leading, and in the main group of favourites it is going to be a test, and surely if anybody is prepared to put in an attack out of those GC contenders, well, then we will see distances and time gaps at the finish.
Adam Yates looked very good. It looked like he was girding himself for an attack. It's his kind of terrain. He should enjoy it. Let's see. We know all about his explosive pushes, but then again, Roglic, provided he's still got some resources, will try his level best to match that. There's plenty around them as well who can go, but nobody going like Michael Stora at the moment. It's just easing off for him. It does kick up again, but 10% to the crest, and then he'll have a short distance to run for home, but he's looking up the mountain rather than back down it, Sean, and that tells a lot.
Yes, well, that's what you need to do. You need to look in front, and because he's looking around quite a lot, and you can see here, the gradient. It's super steep here as you go through the kilometre, having difficulty just to keep it turning here. But we can see in the background the other chasers, we cannot see them, and that is, quite an advantage.
It is. Well, he may be out of sight, but not out of mind. And now he is. Looks like he's within sight as well. And Verona's coping an awful lot better with this this final test by the looks of things. 12%. So I kind of underestimated it. According to the roadbook, around about 10.7. It's academic, however. It's just how you cope with any of this stuff. It's about 22 seconds. We're hearing a static bike just at the wrong time, just breaking the rhythm as he cuts back here, Verona. That was a silly place to park up a camera bike, to be honest. But nonetheless, Stora, is he going to go pop at the very last? He's got to grind it to the very top. He's got about 500 metres, Sean, before he'll get to the very lip of it. And it's a cruel game, this. 14%. Verona looks better at these margins. Let's have a look. And he checks over his shoulder. Almost a dangerous thing to do. He knows his man is there. It's stated at 25 seconds. I'm not sure it is, but it's hard to read in these kind of inclines, Sean, these percentages.
Yes, well, the percentage is the thing. We can see now again, there is quite a gap, quite a daylight between Verona and Stora here, and I think he should be able to hold on. The gradient here is what we expected, and it's a real killer of a gradient. We can see Yates here starting to push on. This is going to really test the big favourites here, who can cling on, and they're quite a long way down this climb, and you can see gaps opening up already.
Yates has a look back, tries to see into the eyes of Roglic, who just remains committed in that sort of 1,000-yard stare. Behind him on his wheel is Mas, and then comes Egan Bernal wearing the young riders jersey. All of the remaining favourites are very much going mano a mano at the moment. Hand-to-hand combat, you might say, further back down there. Let's wait and see. This is Verona, hasn't given up the ghost. I wonder if this will turn into a sprint. Don't know what the gap is just for the time being. They've had to strip the clock out. The fans have gone as well. He's coming to the rise, and this is the ridge, Sean. This is where suddenly he can realise potentially that the day belongs to him. Michael Stora looks like he is indeed going to carry it home. It's downhill all to the line, and boy oh boy, how welcome is that. Modest applause from the side here with the marshals. No fans here to welcome him, but we do, and it'll be with open arms at what has been a tough day. He's smiling through the grimace here. This is absolutely magnificent. Michael Stora has delivered, and not only that, he has put a balm on DSM season. Super win for Stora. He makes it home after over 4 hours of really tough racing. It's not going to be for Verona. He issues some spittle almost in disdain to the side of the road, but he'll look back at this as a very good day for what has been a very tough day for his team. Verona comes home in second place, and we will wait for Sivakov and see if he's hung on. Tron was chasing 25 seconds, the gap at the end. They were so very, very close, and this looks like it's just starting to shred further down the mountain as well, Sean. All bets are off.
Yes.
Time then to try and find some gaps here.
Yes, we can see Miguel Angel Lopez, Movistar here, starting to push on, and yeah, this is a place where the real lightweight riders can do damage, and we could see Yates there a bit earlier on. Now it's the man from the Movistar team, the Colombian, who is starting to put on the pressure, and we can see there most of the favourites are pretty much in sight there, and we can see Sivakov holds on for third.
Here we go. Flamme Rouge beckons. Adam Yates out of the saddle. Two from Movistar here. Miguel Angel Lopez and Enric Mas. Don't know what pecking order they are going to settle on at the end of the day. We shall wait and see. Might be Valverde holding them apart from his hospital bed. Hope he is okay. Roglic it is that just glides over almost on a magic carpet to the back wheel of Adam Yates here. I think they're all going to come in together. Vlasov involved here as well with De La Cruz and Bernal, of course. This is the remnants of the breakaway coming home for you right now. Kuss, Vine, Haig, Grosshartner, Harada, Patilli, Kras, Roman Bardet, with seeing his teammate go for it. Martin Tuschfeldt was also part of it, and Jan Palance with a very, very brave ride. Gosh, and meanwhile back in the pack, Louis Mainkeys with a very good effort here as well to bridge over to them. That bodes well for deeper into this race for Louis. Hope he goes well. It's been a long career for him. We've traced him since a youngster. So these guys are going to come for potentially a sprint for the line, but it's much minor places, and what damage has been done further down the mountain. Well, you're looking at it right now. It's a hard place to be. Christian Eiking finding himself struggling up these inclines, and he's not alone. There's some good riders here. Guillaume Martin would probably help for more out of today for Cofidis, but he didn't get the leeway he was looking for, I'm afraid, and so it hasn't quite worked out. And this is the Landa group, and again, Sean, at the Vuelta, it's not working out for him.
No, well, they're just behind this leading group of Yates here. You can see Landa, Ciccone is there. We can also see Vlasov, which was in this group just a little bit earlier. He's dropped off now, and you can see he's just down the road a little bit as Yates pushes on again, and we can see Bernal is sitting there waiting. We can also see David De La Cruz from UAE Emirates. He's in there, and as you said, Menkes is the one who's just clinging on. And yeah, there's going to be gaps here because we can see there's daylight between some of the GC men.
I think they may well be given the same time here. Let's see if they mob the road. The terrain is kind of working for them to finish as a group. It'd be a hard commissaire that picked a gap between them. Yates, though, just crosses the line now with Roglic. Mas gives him a smack on the backside as if to say, good day, well ridden. And there they are. They come in as one, the favourites. Sean, some time lost to the likes of Grosshartner, Jack Haig, Jay Vine up ahead as well. Jan Palance waiting to see what his finishing time was. We will wait for the official results. But honours even, I think, amongst the main protagonists. And Palanque lost 2 minutes and 29, we understand, at the end. We shall wait and see where indeed he finished in the end. Tough day.
Vemos a Fabiano también finalizando a Richard Carapaz en estos momentos.
Well, there we are. So Jan Palance, I understand, finishing at 1 minute and 4 ahead of the Roglic group, we're hearing provisionally, and so we'll see what that does for our classification at the end. Here we go. Palance 2:29, so I think he's found a minute, but not enough potentially to take the lead. Stora, our victor today, ahead of Verona, Sivakov, Kuss and Haig. Bardet in 6th place, but he will be delighted that Stora has won the day, and we're delighted as well for this youngster. What a performance, Sean.
Yes, well, what a gutsy performance, because he went out there, and I think the idea was to try and get Roman Bardet, his team leader, into a position where he could go for the stage honours here on this very difficult final run to the line. But the way it was working out in the breakaway, they decided that, to send him out with the groups, which was attacking, and they were attacking all the time there with that breakaway, and definitely was the best thing, and they come out DSM come out with a stage victory, which is hugely important for them because they've had a difficult season win-wise.
Well, Palance had a chance to snatch the lead of this race, but I understand that Primož Roglič is still in charge. Palance running in 5th place on 38 seconds down. Grosshartner missing out on the red jersey, Sean, by just 8 seconds. Here's confirmation of it. Roglič leads the race. That's what the push was all about. Brilliantly executed. Grosshartner 8 seconds, Mas at 25, Lopez, so still 2 Movistar boys there. Adam Yates at 1:22 down behind Vlasov, Kuss, Haig and Bernal. Amazing day of racing here at La Vuelta. Sean, beautiful day of racing and a worthy winner. Well, thanks to Sean Kelly and indeed Cherie Pridham and Alan Blythe, who've been with us today. They're now on other duties, post-race show, but what a win it turned out to be for Stora. So pleased for him. Had to withstand quite a few emotional moments as well throughout all that. Harangued and harried, but in the end, the day belonged to him. Well, let's hear from the man who was close at hand to him, Pavel Sivakov, who got on the day's podium.
Balcón de Alicante, con este final, 4 horas 10 minutos 12 segundos, bravísimo también el final de Calo Verona.
Verona just running out of road today. Shame for him. He'll look back at this as a good performance, helping to calm his team after Valverde's issues.
So we're live now with Pavel Sivakov, which was in the breakaway. What a race today, Pavel. Just not that good in the final, maybe in the last kilometers.
Yeah, I missed a little bit. Probably got a bit too carried away in the first part of the race, and also in the final when we were with 3 guys. Yeah, maybe underestimated a bit Stora. He was going really well, and I had a bit of bad luck. Dropped my chain in that second last climb. I wasn't really happy to see him attacking when I did it. So, and then I came back and he was not too keen to pull. So that, yeah, I mean, that's the race. That's how it goes. I understand this, but yeah, a bit bitter about it. But I think anyway, he was probably the best in that last climb. Really, really hard one.
But Emilio, when you lost that chain, you went off the bike. You were back so quickly. That looked so incredibly strong. Everyone thinking, this is it, this is yours.
Yeah, that's what I thought as well in the final. I was feeling really good, but I had to do a big effort to come back in the front there, and yeah, probably cost me a little bit in the last climb, because in such a hot conditions, any big effort like this, you paid, and yeah, that's how it is. I mean, it was great to fight for the victory.
And the team looked very good as well today, right? With Adam in an attacking position, with Carapaz really good.
Yeah, we were all really good. I mean, in the first part, whenever the race exploded at the start, we were with numbers in the front, and that was really good to see, you know. And yeah, compared to all the other big teams, I think we were the most represented in the front.
Thank you, man.
I do like Sivakov. He's very much in control of his emotions. He may well have been giving vent out there to his frustration, but almost offering up an olive branch there. This is how it stacked up. Let's hear from our stage winner, Michael Stora, from Down Under. Good on him, mate. From Perth. Fabulous. Great performance by Grosshartner as well to finish 7th today. He moves into 2nd place, just 8 seconds down on Primož Roglič, who maintains the lead. Jan Palance had a big chance, but in the end, 2 minutes and 29 down on the day's winner, and as a result, does not take the race lead.
Yeah, I hope. Yeah, I don't know what I'm capable of in the future. Yeah, this was my next goal, to win a race at World Tour level. So I'm really happy. I'm going to have to set a new goal now.
So now, for the first time, you are really the Destroyer.
Yeah, I think that nickname's taking on.
Thank you very much. Well done.
No worries.
Short and sweet, but the day may have been short and very, very sweet for Michael Storer. Superb performance by him, and yeah, wonderful to see him functioning so well. Looking at the pitons which grace the sky here, we've been playing with a few of them. Almost cruel inclines that we've had to deal with, but it's been a great day's racing. I need to put my larynx in a hammock a little bit later on to get my voice back for tomorrow. That was a fantastic day today. Here are your jerseys. Primož Roglic remains in the lead by a margin of 8 seconds ahead of Grosshartner. Philipsen still in green, of course. The mountains goes to Pavel Sivakov, and Egan Bernal is still our young riders classification leader. Pleased for Sivakov that he's got a jersey out of the day. Not even sure he realised it, to be honest, as he crossed the line. Roglic in the lead overall, but Sepp Kuss now within a minute. He was part of that breakaway, and indeed at one point we were wondering where he might even reach out for the lead of the race. He's 8th overall. Let's hear from Sepp Kuss.
Sepp Kuss is joining us. Sepp, a day in the breakaway. Was that the plan to go maybe also your own chances today?
Not initially. I think it was a really hard climb from the start, so the race just blew into pieces. And I was just trying to stay up there because there were some guys that were a bit close on GC attacking that we didn't want to just let ride away. So yeah, I actually used a lot of energy in the beginning, just making sure it was a good situation, and then it ended up that I was in that big group. Yeah, really hard stage, a lot attacking the whole day, but yeah, I just tried to stay with the guys that were more riding for GC, and you know, Storer really deserved the win. It was a bold move to go far out like that, and yeah, we were already riding so fast, so yeah, it was really a good ride by him.
What about team efforts? Primož came in with his big competitors, so another day gone.
Yeah, I mean, today we knew it would be really tricky to control, and for sure other teams tried to attack, and this was a good stage to try and put pressure on, but yeah, we got through the day well, and yeah, we can be happy, I think.
Good. Have you got any time to have a little view at the Balcón de Alicante, you think?
Yeah, maybe if the big trucks get out of the way, but wow, we always train around here, but we've never done this climb, so it's nice to do it for once.
Was it nice?
Oh, I liked it. It's steep.
And then you like it?
Yeah, then it's a good climb.
Okay, thanks, man.
Thanks.
Sepp Kuss in good voice and in good cheer, because Primož Roglic remains in the lead of this race. Let's speak to Martin Tuschfeldt, a teammate of today's winner, Storer.
So we're here with Martin Tuschfeldt, obviously a teammate of the winner today. Martin, there it is, the big win.
Yeah, that's really nice. We were really focused on this day already since Romain crashed. We really wanted to be in the break, and in the first break we were with 8 riders and 3 riders in.
You were all there.
Yeah, and then a bigger group came back with Romain and me. Yeah, actually all the guys that we wanted to go for the break were in the break, so that was perfect, and we could also play a bit with that in the final. Yeah, of course a lot of guys were looking at Romain, but we knew Storer is super strong, and he got in his break with Sivakov and Craddock. Yeah, and actually we were pretty confident that he could win out of that break.
Yep.
So yeah, oh, it was a really hard stage, but yeah, great team effort, and super happy.
And look at victories this year. That wasn't the best year maybe for Team DSM, but this victory really counts, right?
Yeah, this is a big one, and I have to say, since August we have quite some victories now. Apparently we just get into the shape from August on. Also last year we were really good at the end of the year.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we're all in good shape now, so that's great. We have also 2 nice weeks to go, and I think we have more opportunities for a stage win.
Thank you very much, man.
Thanks.
Thank you,
It was a great performance and a real relief, I think, for Team DSM. We'll have a look at the mountains classification for you, and nice that Pavel Sivakov has found himself with a reward from today. Sounded a bit disappointed at the end, and but the smile returns, I am certain, when he gets up on the podium to collect that polka dot jersey. In fact, he's 4 points clear of Stora, who won today's stage. Jack Haig on 11 points, equal with Roman Bardet. As far as the youth classification is concerned, Egan Bernal, of course, is in the white jersey at the top of that grouping. 25 seconds clear of Vlasov, Marder and Lopez. This might well be a real head-to-head between Vlasov and Bernal. We'll see how this one pans out. We're going to be speaking to Adi Engels now, sports director, of course, of Jumbo-Visma, who remain in the lead of this race with Primož Roglič.